He said back up. Follow directions.
Yeah, I just seen college girls today. Freshman year is like you don't see women from the years ago. Most seasons you
You have steel toes? That will help.
You're wonderful, you're awakening, you're doing everything you can in a crazy world to remain connected, even though you are continually stimulated into a synthesized state by a system that wants you distracted. Let's face it, you awakening wonder. Thanks for joining us today for Stay Free with Russell Brand. We've got some fantastic stories for you, haven't we, my dear on-screen assistant?
Many, yes.
A lot of good stuff. We'll be talking about how many people from the military-industrial complex end up taking lucrative positions around the world. It's a fantastic story. We're obviously looking as well about the incremental march towards war, how it's being continually exacerbated. When we go exclusively, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, are you watching us on Twitter? Are you allowed to watch us on Twitter anymore now that Twitter is the new throne of King Tucker? King Tucker on his Twitter throne. Is that where you're watching it? Are we allowed to stream on there now? The Tucker and Elon are friends of this show. I actually was, I would say, bothering Elon Musk at night because angering Elon Musk, because I was like sort of going, is that his number? Because you know, so if you ring a foreign number, sometimes it goes dun 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 dun, the number do a bit, and then it says something, and it was in a language that's not the mother tongue.
Right.
English. So I rang back, and someone else in our group, James, one of the producers here, had the number of Elon Musk as well. So I felt irritated by having to do that. So James, send us that Elon Musk number, and I call it again. Dun, 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 dun. Then a text come through. I'm in San Francisco. I'm trying to sleep. So if Elon Musk today seemed off his game, if he sacked another 50% of the workforce, if he can't focus, if he's given Tucker Carlson a real big deal over there at Twitter. Did you see Tucker saying that?
I do like the way that tech genius Elon Musk doesn't know about turning it on silent.
You know, you can put that on silent, mate. You know that button on the side. Wait, what? Oh, yeah.
Maybe
we
you
all
could
know
be
that.
his like consultant or something.
Hey,
you give him tips.
You should, if you shut all those windows, mate, your battery lasts longer. Little tip. You can put that just down the brightness.
Yeah, down the brightness.
Oh, see, okay. It's me, Russell Brand, Elon Musk's tech consultant, and while I'm advising the genii of the world tech, the new plutocrat class, the new kings of the big tech world, I could give Zuckerberg a bit of advice on the BJJ, because he's been BJJing his way through life. Hey, when we're exclusively on Rumble, the other platform where you can speak freely, because I noticed Tucker was saying that Twitter is the only one, we'll be talking about the coverage of 420 and the sort of fetishization and celebration of cannabis use. It's really funny because like the mainstream media are casually sort of supporting, celebrating drug use.
It's the like fun story of the day, isn't it?
Hey, it's fun. But elsewhere, drugs are still criminalized in ways that's really punitive and challenging. In fact, we do a presentation on that a little later. So we've got so much to talk about.
Biden pledged to revoke that now, didn't he?
Oh, well, what that was is when he was trying to become president, he said some things like, you'll also remember he said, we're going to make Saudi Arabia a pariah. Hey, you're fire, pariah. Boom. Yeah, that's right. People say things when they're trying to become president that they will not back up once they're president. I don't like the idea of Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook king. Look at how Facebook has followed the imperial model. First, they dominated the Anglophonic countries, the Americas, us lot. And then they sort of, like now in the Philippines, I think if you own a phone, you have to have Facebook on it, isn't it? For some countries.
The only way you can get on the internet. In most of Africa, I think.
In most African nations, you have to go via Facebook. It's like Zuckerberg stands there.
That's the internet.
Like Gandalf.
Right.
You shall not pass. But can you pass his guard, BJJ fans? Let me know in the chat and the comments. Let's have a look at him. Zuckerberg's winning gold and silvers in the world of BJJ. As you know, old Russ is a purple belt in the noble sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu after 7, maybe 8 years of toil and
Wow. Have
trouble.
you ever won gold and silver? Because
Max, I'm too scared to go
it
to
sounds
the
a little
competitions.
unfair if he's winning both of them.
In the
sounds a bit
last
fixed
fight,
to me.
were you fighting yourself? And now I get gold and silver, sonny boy. Yeah, like it's like who won bronze?
Yeah, I was doing roofing, but they said
The mad monopolist.
they
Even in
cut
the
another
BJJ
guy,
scene,
and
he's
then
winning those fights in the metaverse.
they said that they were
Orange.
He makes a mockery of them like he does of Congress.
Yes. Yes. See, keeping it well done there. That's good. Take the rest of the week off. Don't.
What's he going to do?
Shows.
Sell those
I'm
medals like he
supposed to be
sells your
doing
data?
concrete
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, let's give a
I
little
got
chat.
small.
Love in the chat. It's like this guy's on fire. Let's have a look at Zuckerberg doing his crazy thing. Be really like nerdy about it. What's
We got a baby and stuff. No, I'm the way, so like,
Shouldn't have done that, mate.
hit me out here running the streets and everything.
Oh, buddy, that's
Yeah.
expensive. Is that just UK mechanics? In UK, car to mechanic, you'll go,
Oh, it's going to cost you.
cost you, mate. Should have done that, mate. Like in America, whoa, buddy, it's very like that. Anyway, I'm nerding out on that.
That's just what happened.
Applying a lot of pressure to the face of
I tried going to Phoenix. They told me that they couldn't accept me because my bathroom was crazy. It was a sensor
He's doing no
almost
BJJ.
stuff.
Now you look at that.
And then
Genitals
I
are very close
tried
to the
it,
opponent's face.
and they told me the same thing. They said that they didn't have no job openings in my bathroom.
Learning little
I picked it up pretty quickly.
Yeah, you've known that for a long time.
Yes, when I came up to roll off today, and he was like, first thing he was like, Josh, he's like, where you at a job? I said, I've been trying to try it out, dancing, try it out, Phoenix. They both called me back to the day and told me that they didn't find no jobs because of my bathroom. Which is crazy because I've had the same background since I was 17 years old and never had a problem. Until recently, that credit card shit.
Beating everybody up and stuff. Should we have a look at that? Is there a copyright issue? I think it's true. It's one of those, people like to say that Simpsons predict, South Park predicts.
Would you walk away?
And the ongoing war, not war.
I see you on that, but
well, it is a war,
I kind of have that
of America.
really emergency.
Look, the US-UK vow to keep supporting the Ukraine regardless of counteroffensive. Apparently there's going to be some sort of counteroffensive in springtime.
That's right.
Springtime for Hitler,
Yep.
like as you know from the producers.
Hitler is dead.
That's just in. Now springtime is a time for the Russian counteroffensive. We had a fantastic conversation that you can see now on Locals. You'll be able to see on Friday with RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr., where he talked extensively about how really we're funding this war at a time when we can ill afford it and we're being incredibly misled. You've got to watch that. If you're a member of our Locals community, you can join us now if you are. Watch it now, it's already up, but it will be on Friday. So, yeah, he also said, by the way, that he estimates 300,000 Ukrainian people died.
Well, the thing is that why you didn't report when we got you ready last time?
No, I didn't report. I worked there. I worked there a long time ago.
I'm sorry, I thought I was mistaking you. Yeah, you have to. It has to be an up-to-date ID. That's the only way we can do that. And
RFK called it a money laundering operation. He said essentially that.
well, I'd be glad you just go.
Dollars go into this war. They come out the upper end into the military-industrial complex. You know that the Pentagon has been an audit that they can
Right.
yet.
I'm sorry?
Great.
Government to take public money.
What machine?
Legitimizing. He was going through the Afghanistan war. Seems like the same playbook to me. Let's have a look at the agitation for a new war. That's some of the amount of money that's been spent. Is it true that there's that Philippine patrols are in the south trying to see what's going on there, Gal? There's just more wine China right up.
That's right. Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
That's why.
They'll send you home if it happens today.
The ongoing agitation of people. Oh, this is So this is the thing where when Trump was doing this, it was condemned. Can you explain this to us a little
That
bit?
machine
This
is
is like the one
always
China
had issues.
policy, which is obviously what
the one that pops it and shakes it as it's going
by
in.
agitating China
That thing.
and by supporting
It's either that or the taper. Hi. Okay, I'm sorry.
Trump took a phone call from the president of Taiwan when he got into power, and Rachel Maddow and a lot of the media came on and said, "How dare he? You know what he's doing is violating the One China policy, and this is going to lead to war." But as we know, is happening at the moment with Taiwan, with the giving them
I can pull it out and
military
put the
equipment, and all that kind of stuff. It's doing the exact same thing, but without the same kind of pushback as Trump has been taking a phone call.
Yep. Can you come back in about an hour? Keep it out here. I'll fill it out.
Decades to develop the ground on which we talk to China. And Donald Trump tore it up today.
All right, guys.
And the intense and important thing here
Got a
is
lot
that
more
we
people
don't
to
know
do
if he did it on purpose.
Everybody ready as we go?
Or if he
How many
just
people on?
I mean, either way, this could
Nothing
simply is the way
happening.
wars start, right? But
Did the
What
application?
worries me is that there are no morals or principles, there's
Well,
no certainty or spine. There's no institution that you can claim has moral authority anymore.
Yeah, there's my any job interview right now.
Shaken
Is there
out
any
faith.
way I can
And when you see how the media behaves differently, advocating for the party that they traditionally
Yes.
support and are aligned
Oh,
with,
3, 29, 90.
opposing the other party, their principles changing. You've seen that happen around important issues,
Yeah.
around medications connected to the pandemic. They just switched sides when appropriate.
Yes, ma'am. Gotcha.
Brings us to a
Alright.
difficult point when, as we've discussed earlier this week, that every election result is queried, the judiciary is queried. There's no sort of faith that, these things are sacrosanct and sacred. And I think it's because we've desacralized, as Vandana Shiva says, we've desacralized our culture. We've lost our love, reverence, and respect for one another and for the earth. So when it comes to important decisions, verdicts, and choices, there's no sense that, well, these are our principles, these are our values, we know that we can rely on them and trust them. We live in these silos, separate
Oh, no.
people,
It's encouraging because I'm not here on Friday, so it's nice to be able to get everybody here. Yeah, I've been pulling 10-hour shifts because I got to do a split day between here and Toledo, so we're just
Okay,
trying to manage both, going back and forth and doing over 100 miles a day on my car.
Centers around military industrial complex manipulation,
Yeah, here it is.
and financial industry. People are retiring from the
All right,
NSA
so one.
and winning lucrative contracts, not only within the United States. We're well averse with seeing military generals turn up on the news, often advocating for war. Let me know in the chat if you've noticed that. Certainly we've discussed it, but that happens elsewhere in the world, and it gives me the idea that there's this class, this strata of political movement that is transcendent of national identity. When it comes to matters like military and the war, we talk about ideas like humanitarianism, patriotism, honor, connection, alliance, allegiance. But there is, and perhaps there's always,
I don't give a fuck about smoking weed.
Group,
You don't walk into a business place like
retire from
that.
the
That
NSA,
should work.
then go get consultancy deals with Saudi Arabia,
See,
who
why
are
they
maybe
want-
still a pariah, fist bump. Like, it shows you that they don't live within the framing that they invite us to operate within. Is that right, Gal?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, this is the Washington Post that they've put in. The only way they got this information, because it was being withheld from them, as you can imagine why. It's kind of embarrassing to admit that 500 retired US military personnel have gone on to work for countries like Saudi Arabia, who, as you say, Ross, are meant to be pariahs, have, human rights abuses that apparently we care about, and yet our military personnel can leave their post, retire, and not only go and get involved in the revolving door with military-industrial complex, but go and work for regimes like Saudi Arabia. So they had to obtain a freedom of information lawsuit, which is the only way that anyone in the press.
So they tried to control this information, presumably because they know most people wouldn't be down with it.
Yeah.
Also, that's a staggeringly high figure, 500. Sometimes I Trump, I mean, it's probably an easy thing to find out. How many countries are there? But no, there was 500 countries. It's like a retired military general
this is,
for every nation on earth.
So this is 500 military personnel that they've got access to.
Where are they all going?
Yeah.
I mean, have you got a couple in some countries? Have you got 10 over in Saudi Arabia? What you do if you have a dissident journalist, go to the embassy, chop them up. Oh, okay, thanks. Let me write that down. No need. I'm going to chop your hand off in a minute. You got on my nerves just then. That's not an attack on Saudi Arabia, other than, I suppose, a reference to the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, who was chopped up in the consulate in Turkey, which led to Biden, while campaigning, saying this dude's going to be a pariah, but in office, things went all a bit different, didn't they?
Yeah, but what it also does is, for example, we were talking about the Pentagon leaks a few minutes ago,
Yeah.
and everything around the Pentagon at the time was, this should not be in public hands. The public should not have information to this. This is the Pentagon. We are the military. We are, we have authority here. We know what we're doing. We go, you do know what you're doing for a few years, and then you retire and go and work for the very regimes who you've just gone and said should be pariahs.
Right.
It's utter hypocrisy.
How can we have any faith or trust in these institutions when we know that much of the clandestine, redacted, and concealed information's got stuff like, oh, guess what? When we leave work, we go work for countries that we've condemned as pariahs previously, that we know have records of human rights abuses. How can we trust them? How can we trust election results? How can we trust the judiciary? How can anything be trusted anymore? Because we know that when they talk about protecting us, they're exploiting us, surveilling us, and spying on us. How do you feel about this? Let me know in the chat. Now, we're going to leave, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, we're going to jump over to Rumble. There's a link in the description. Look, I'll be honest with you, this isn't because it's a story that's going to change the world because we're attacking the establishment using their own weapons against them. No, even though, by God, if you want to see that happen, you are not going to want to miss our show on Friday with RFK. This is a person who grew up at the knee of one of the greatest presidents in American history. Let me know in the chat who your favorite is, and is actually telling you stuff. I mean, even just on the conversational level, stuff about Jackie Onassis, stuff about KGB spies being around the house, the hotline to Khrushchev. And then when it comes to the pandemic and Fauci, you lot, I felt like I was like, I can handle a conspiracy theory. Like Gareth afterwards goes, like in Few Good Men when Jack Nicholson goes, you can't handle the truth. And you sort of, the subtext is going to be, well, we can handle the truth. Give us the truth. We can't handle the truth. Look, you wait. If you think you can handle the truth, listen to our interview of RFK. If you're a member of Locals, you can listen to it right now. There's a red button on your screen. If you're watching us on Rumble, oh my God, just go watch it right now. Incredible stuff. And then tell us, can you handle the truth? Can you handle the truth? We're going to go and be just now on Rumble. We're going to be on Rumble now. This isn't, we've got some serious coverage coming up in a minute about how drug promises and pledges made about the drug laws have been reneged on as usual. But this is just an amazing, delightful, celebratory story. Click over to be on Rumble to watch people freely, recreationally using controlled substances in an amusing way. There's a link in the description. See you over there. This is the 420 story, Ben. What is it about? Just people, how they celebrate 420?
I think it's Fox, actually.
Pothead Christmas.
It's like, right, exactly that. It's like, oh, isn't it funny that people can freely smoke? And it is.
Is it true that you can, though?
Yeah.
On 420?
One day of the year.
Why?
I don't know, but that's the law,
Yeah,
apparently.
it's
Whatever this
super
is.
fair.
That shows you how mad laws are. And for this day, do what you want day.
Right.
Like those films.
Right after this,
Like the
it's
devices
all
is one
moving
day you
up.
can kill anyone.
Yeah.
Battle Royale, something like that. Those
I don't like
dystopian
Purge
films.
and
Purge, yeah, things like that.
I don't like
But this is
Yeah, they're always so quick about getting you in, huh?
Let's have
Yeah,
a
it's a
joke.
Worst
We're
nightmare.
headed in that direction, right?
Gareth's
Are
worst
we?
nightmare
Probably in a
is
second.
freedom.
Yeah.
Look at that freedom right now on the lips of a high guy.
I don't care if you talk to anybody right now. You may not want to discuss them.
Beautiful thing, man.
Another
To a
thing,
movie. Anyway, he's on Fox 2. I didn't even know there was a Fox 2.
Um,
Did you? No, Fox 2.
tried having
They
all
really
these
line up. On
things
Fox
to
1.
discuss.
Yeah, Fox 2.
And
Yeah,
it's
it was very general. Fox 1. Fox 1, much more like concerns about demographics and balances. Fox 2, we don't care. Let's just get high and be friends. Race is the solution. Why don't we all just get high and have fun together?
Yeah.
Hey, smoking on the news.
Do you feel like you've seen this somewhere? Like the feeling of this news? Like the feeling of someone who's jostled along?
It was definitely better than going back to
Sure.
It's not quite Weekend at Bernie's. What is it when someone gets sort of Ubered into it? Is it all American high school movies where a nerd gets in with the cool kids? By the end of this news report, is that guy going to be sort of the coolest one, but then realise eventually he was better off? I don't think that's
Celebrating everything hot. How are you celebrating it today?
Like this, you know what I'm saying? Smoking weed, you know what I'm saying? Get high. Yeah.
there are risks.
Everybody on the bus.
Like many on the Reed Bar bus from Eastern Market to here. The first stop at the Detroit Herbal Center on Detroit's west side.
Free weed. Who wants the weed?
And many happy that this year, smoking pot for recreation is legal. business is good.
Business been good.
Yeah, you making money?
I can't complain.
Is it cheaper now?
Heck yeah, way cheaper. I'm saying like the game's saturated now, so like everybody can afford it.
And further on the west side, on the corner of Warren and Greenfield, the Herbalist Cannabis Company is celebrating.
420, the holiday that only matters to a lot of people in Detroit.
420.
He's gone too deep. What it is like deep cover, like when
Yeah.
you get involved in an operation or a community, but then it's somehow you are inveigled and you forget. Listen, this was just meant to be a news broadcast.
Why don't you go to hell? I'm smoking a doobie, baby. I'm down with these people now. Leave me alone.
All the time. It's not just today, it's mostly every day. And with all this pot, most places are giving away free burgers or Cinnabon.
Why are you like that?
Amazing because he's with all this pot. He's so excited by this point. As you say, he's getting more enveloped in this day as the day goes on.
He's lost his objectivity. You used to be a journalist, Paul.
Yeah, well, I'm something much better now, baby.
Or sandwiches. How was it?
Charlie, listen to me. I ain't gonna lie to you. Amazing. You gotta grab one of them Jones.
So, with the munchies satisfied, feeling good, it's back on the weed bus for another 420 celebration in the D.
Look at me, Mom. I made it.
On Detroit's west side, Charlie Langton.
Look at me, Mo, I made it.
There's quite a few layers of irony, post-modernity in that. What an extraordinary piece of news. You could put that up as a piece of art, really, couldn't you, as an installation, and just say, look at where the culture is now. It's an incredible celebration, particularly when you look at the fact that elsewhere, pledges are being made around decriminalization and declassification of drugs, in particular cannabis, ironically, have not been kept. You're going to love this story and how it leads to, oddly enough, the criticism, condemnation, and ability to criminalize certain classes of people. That's what you can do if you have certain substances that are culturally significant or emotionally necessary that are illegal. Here's the news? No, here's the fucking news. If cannabis isn't actually a gateway drug, then why is it still illegal? Particularly when the current administration said they were going to deschedule it. And who on earth thinks that the solution to all of this might be to bomb Mexico? Why are they still criminalizing drugs? We're talking about drug decriminalization on the back of a debate on Fox News where Judge Janine predictably said the solution might be bomb Mexico. Is there a single problem that Judge Janine doesn't think can't be solved with a bomb, usually on Mexico? Look at these problems in Iran. Could we bomb Mexico? But there's no, come on, let's try it. Try it. And remember, Joe Biden did run on a pledge to deschedule cannabis use. So what is it about drug use and the potential awakening of minds and changing of perspective that means that drugs are continually used to fence people in and hem people in? Let's have a look at the Fox News debate.
Look, I think you should target the cartels while you negotiate with them. And I also think you got to legalize drugs. I mean, the only way you're going to have quality control, like prescriptions, and the only way you're going to stop fentanyl poisonings would be to legalize these drugs which people want.
Seems like a sensible solution proposed by Greg Gutfeld, a libertarian or indeed liberal solution, allowing people to do what they want as long as it doesn't affect other people. There is some precedent for decriminalization, notably in Portugal. Since it decriminalized drugs in 2001, Portugal has seen dramatic drops in overdoses, HIV infections, drug-related crime. So it has been tried successfully.
The problem isn't with the dealers. The problem is with us. Right? We're the demand.
I'm gonna have you since you're the odd one right now. Just have a seat at the
You want to know
computer
what
over
the
there.
drug dealers are? Snoop Dogg was a drug dealer.
Ooh, I like Snoop Dogg.
Jay-Z was a drug dealer.
Ooh, I like Jay-Z.
50 Cent was a drug dealer.
Love 50.
Mark Wahlberg was a drug dealer.
Marky Mark, gotta love him.
Tim Allen.
Tim improvements. Tim Allen. Let's get weird.
And you open this segment?
Background and
Kid
all.
Rock
You can do it
was
right.
a drug dealer.
So
There's a lot of hypocrisy from Republicans. What do they love and preach to everybody? Capitalism. What do they hate? Regulating it. What is the drug market? Unregulated capitalism. A lot, for the first rung onto that ladder of capitalism often is drug dealing.
first name, dot last name.
So how dare you?
In interesting change of tone for a grave. How dare you prevent young
Then
hustler
this right
businessmen
here, capital T and
getting a
exclamation
foot on
point
the
at the end.
ladder? Fantastic. Judge Janine's not going to stand for much more of this. She's already reaching for the Bomb Mexico button. This sounds like Bomb Mexico territory. Bomb there, bomb there.
They legalized drugs in Portland, essentially, and everyone's dying and sleeping on the streets.
Everyone.
Do you agree that we should legalize drugs, Judge Janine?
Let me ask you a question. What do you think my answer is to that? Absolutely not.
Okay.
We can't legalize it. And look, here's the
drug
thing.
war's working great.
Well, no, because we're not doing everything we need to be doing.
Arrest more people?
No, what
Because
we
they're
need to
seeking
do,
oblivion?
Arrest? No. Not yet. Judge Janine has found a measure a little harsher than just plain arrest. Keep going, Judge.
Look, Joe Biden wants to sanction and financially cripple. We heard this drug czar saying they're going to know that we're serious. Are you kidding? We need to designate them as foreign terrorists.
Right. Finally, common sense. Here's Chris Gutfield saying that they're entrepreneurs and Judge Janine terrorists. Yeah, there's some pretty diverse views over there on Fox.
So that we can go after them the way we go after terrorists, we need to have military strikes.
Yes, it's a war. It's war on drugs. We all remember how successful that war on drugs has been from our own horrible struggle with drugs and from the opioid deaths of the last few years.
And I don't care if President Obrador in Mexico thinks we're rude or thinks it's an insult that we would consider doing this. The truth is that if you've got 100,000 people dying, we're in a damn war right now. And these kids are not dying because they want to take fentanyl. They're dying because they want to take maybe an Adderall, or maybe they want to take an oxycodone.
This is extraordinary because the debate is actually moving away from the pharmaceutical companies who deliberately and manipulatively encourage doctors financially to prescribe fentanyl, knowing that it was addictive and harmful. This is an example, I suppose, of how the mainstream media, even in their framing of a conversation, prevents you from looking at the issue in its entirety, while I recognise that Fox News have been quite overt in their covering of the opioid crisis, fentanyl, the Sackler family, Purdue Pharma, all of that. Here, they seem to be moving once again towards, you know who caused all this? It's Mexicans.
That's why you
and
legalize
it's an
it.
undeclared war. No, that's not why you legalize
That's
it.
where you get the control of it. Look, read about Prohibition. The reason why people died during Prohibition was because the alcohol wasn't controlled.
Greg Gutfield very much carrying on the mantle left behind by Tucker Carlson of providing a genuinely liberal and anti-establishment voice in a corporatized space. I wouldn't have believed it possible just 5-10 years ago that you would ever see someone on Fox News who was salaried by them saying that drugs should be decriminalized, the pharmaceutical industry are worse than drug.
Okay, just click next on that page.
Is handled deftly.
We'll come back and do the documents.
Then you know it's an Adderall.
So
Then you
we're
know
gonna
it's a
make
Xanax.
so that it's not lethal anymore?
Fentanyl is legal, by the way.
Yeah, should fix that.
Lethal, like a bomb. It's going to be landing any minute.
Here's your nearest office is Finley. Were you in Ohio for a while?
It's also lethal.
Okay, I don't know how that got switched. I just fixed it. Don't worry about it.
It's prescribed.
All good?
It's not lethal when it's prescribed. Yeah,
Yes,
I
that's
get
my
it. But here's the problem, is that the kids who don't want necessarily an illegal drug and only want something that's ordinary and that it's in everybody's medicine cabinet end up taking something
Because
like
it's not regulated. Because they get mixed. You're agreeing with me.
I'm not
You're
agreeing
agreeing.
with you.
Yes,
No,
the reason why
it's
people look,
unde-
I have had 2 friends die of overdoses from fentanyl.
We
for
all
the
have
same-
had
for the
friends
same reason
die.
you're
We've all had friends die of overdose. That's why I got to bomb Mexico.
for the same reason
die.
you're talking about.
You know
They
what?
didn't know they were taking it.
Yeah,
If it was
okay.
legal, that wouldn't have happened.
And you know what? But the truth is that people would follow. But the truth is that people are dying of these overdoses because they don't think that there's fentanyl in it, or they don't know that there's that much.
I will rest my case. That's what I said.
First of all, let me say this was a fascinating conversation.
Firstly, you guys have got a great marriage. That's what I want to say, and it's worth saving.
And I tend to agree with Greg. After trillions of dollars in the failed war on drugs, I don't think that prohibition.
Because we haven't
is-
done the war
And
properly.
I also think
Do the war properly with greater wars. Afghanistan, okay, maybe not Afghanistan. Iraq, okay, maybe not Iraq. This one, the one we're not in. Okay, just look, bomb Mexico.
Just say no, it's not a war.
That's like just burying
Let
it
me
in
see
sand,
if I'm looking.
ignoring a problem with a ludicrous catchphrase. It is
Oh,
a
just
war.
put NA or just put it best guess.
you referenced.
I would have told you to skip that. You can skip the work part.
But if you could take out the drug.
Yeah, well, if there's already info there, it wants to fill in the
as,
blanks
as several
when you
prominent
redo it for
Republicans
some
are
reason.
advocates.
Oh, yeah.
then why can't Mexico target our gun manufacturers? Because we're flooding Mexico with guns, hundreds of thousands of guns every year that they're using in all this violence.
Guns don't
You
get up and
can't.
say,
If
I'm
we're
going to
gonna
go
bomb-
out today and kill
if
somebody.
we're gonna
That's not the drugs, though. She's amazing, Josh Janine. Guns don't just get up on their own and kill people. The drugs don't just get up on their own and give themselves to people. It's the exact same argument, and quite a good one from that beautiful Guess Who character.
If we're going to bomb Mexico, why don't we bomb China? China's the source of the fentanyl.
Right.
I mean, you just cannot. You cannot do
All right,
these
so
kinds
let's
of acts.
legalize it.
That's
See
why
how
I
good
think
that goes.
I've covered every drug from 1970. I was there when Nixon started the war on drugs. It's not working. It doesn't work. We've got to confess it at a certain point. Trillions of dollars wasted, no controls. It's
What's killed more
suicide.
people, alcohol or pot?
Exactly.
It's the easiest comparison one could make.
Exactly.
There are a lot of very progressive, liberal views being expressed in this debate, and it's an indication of how much the taxonomies of media have shifted. It would have been unthinkable to see a debate where views were expressed articulately that were anti the war.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring you guys the second half of it in just a second.
Condemnation around those issues. But it shows you, in a sense, that the old barometers, markers, and categories are starting to melt away. Whether it's legitimate or sincere, I would say in the case of Greg Gutfield, having met Greg, that it is sincere. Elsewhere, it might be rhetorical on the channel. I'm in no position to really say. But what this tells us, I think, is that the old values are shifting. This is somewhat underpinned by the recent revelation through study that cannabis is not, as long presumed, a gateway drug at all. Legalizing recreational cannabis at the state level does not increase substance use disorders or use of other illicit drugs among adults, and in fact may reduce alcohol-related problems, according to new CU Boulder research. The study of more than 4,000 twins from Colorado and Minnesota also found no link between cannabis legalization and increases in cognitive, psychological, social relationship or financial problems. Of course, one of the campaign pledges of the Biden administration was that cannabis would be descheduled. Let's see how that went. In a campaign ad that hit YouTube 7 days before the 2020 election, Biden said, as president, I'll work to reform the criminal justice system, improve community policing, decriminalize marijuana, and automatically expunge all prior marijuana convictions. According to a Gallup poll last fall, 68% of Americans said that they wanted to go beyond Biden's promise. They want full federal legalization of the recreational use of marijuana by adults. The kinds of big dramatic steps in that direction that Biden promised would be attention-grabbing and base mobilizing. It has 83% support among Democrats, but best of all, it wouldn't even be a potent issue for mobilizing conservative voters. That poll showed slightly more Republicans were for it, 50%, than against it, 49%. Other polls in the last few years have put the Republican for number even higher. A Pew poll in November 2019 found that 55% of Republican-leaning voters were pro-legalization. When something like this has broad appeal and is broadly popular across both parties, I have genuine questions as to why it's not carried, and I feel that it might indicate a deeper set of psychological biases at an institutional level, as well as a means to incarcerate, stigmatize, and criminalize people conveniently. Eventually, drugs will become decriminalized, if not fully legalized, because it simply doesn't make sense. It's a relic from a more legislative and prohibitive era that can't withstand the kind of conversations that we're currently having around identity, freedom, the right to be who you are. If people have the right to change aspects of their biological nature, which again I have no strong opinion on, I support individual freedom full stop, then certainly an issue like this is one that needs to be looked at. Hell, there's even a case for it from a pro-business Republican perspective. Legal weed businesses would finally be allowed to accept credit card payments, and yet, in April 22, he was reviewing powers that no one anywhere doubts that he has. Has Biden just forgotten? Unlikely. Last July, 3 of the most high-profile senators in the Democratic caucus, 2020 presidential candidates Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Cory Booker, sent Biden a letter urging the administration to use its existing authority to deschedule cannabis. They have a comparable authority when it comes to controlling pharmaceutical prices or serious diseases. We did a video on how a cancer drug that costs $100,000 a month could be white label or threatened with white label regulation, meaning it will be cheaply available to those that need it. So there is a legislation and administration that don't make rational sense. If something doesn't make rational sense, to me it's an indication that there's a sort of a faith-based ideological component that isn't obvious and evident. You know, folks, it's just like Biden promised explicitly more than once, and in so many words, he would do when he was running for president. It's also like the overwhelming majority of Americans want him to. Biden was a hardcore war on drugs hawk for most of his Senate career. Why did he promise to deschedule cannabis when he was running for president? It's hard to see an answer to that question other than we knew it would be good politics. When Fox News is continually attacked, and we've participated in attacking Fox News, and yet they have more progressive, open-minded views on decriminalization than the apparently Democrat president, it makes you wonder what really controls American administration. How are decisions genuinely made? This is another example of not only the fact that pledges are made when running for office that simply aren't carried out during administration, but also that there appear to be guiding principles that are not obvious and evident and are certainly not connected to the will of ordinary people. Let me know what you think in the chat and the comments. I say all of this as a person in recovery who doesn't use drugs or alcohol one day at a time for a number of reasons, primarily spiritual. Let's have a look at the benefits of a new attitude towards drugs and criminalization. Decriminalization changes the way we think about drugs. Drugs will no longer be treated as a criminal issue, but instead a health and social one. This means that instead of addressing drugs through handcuffs,
So that's your handbook.
causes of drug use, including inequities rooted in housing.
Goes over the console.
These groups cause legislation to remain entrenched. So you have to acknowledge that ultimately drugs, when used pathologically, are
Keep that. We're using that to
sadness, social decline, all points that are covered by Greg Gutfield in that debate, and
This we keep on file for the FDA when they
by the
come.
Biden administration, which doesn't seem to tally with how most Democrats would regard Fox News versus the Democrat
Well,
Party.
the picture.
Decriminalization saves governments money. A large proportion of the justice system, police, courts, prisons, are occupied with drug-related crimes. As seen in other decriminalized jurisdictions, such as California, we can reduce the demands and costs of this system. Considering the demonstrated need for addiction and mental health resources, the money saved could be well spent elsewhere, such as community-led responses, healthcare housing, and social programs. For example, eliminating criminal records related to drug possession offences promotes opportunities to access employment and housing. Interactions between people who use drugs and police can also be reduced, or better yet, won't happen at all. Decriminalisation reduces stigma. Negative views
All the answers
in the overdose crisis. By reshaping the way our family, friends, and the medical profession think about drugs,
So if you ask me, I can tell you what it is.
reducing stigma can also encourage people who use drugs to talk to their doctors.
Any questions? Always go through this.
At the very least, it will help bring drug use out from isolation.
No, I gives that.
I suppose that failure to change this legislation that the government are out of touch with the population that they
The whole room, we'll do it on one paper and then just copy it.
Make sure that every
indication that there's been a divorce
Oh, okay.
in the public.
Yeah, it's a nice little commentary I give while I'm explaining.
But I think that's why.
You good?
I've always asked why
Bailey?
It also indicates that authoritarianism
All right, I'm gonna load some forms. You'll have to log back in and fill those out, okay?
Meaningfully better, just that the liberalism that used to underwrite the modern Democratic Party is no longer in evidence, even with an issue that would seem, according to this
Right here.
article, like an easy win. So what does that indicate? That authoritarianism, the ability to legislate and the ability to control, is more important to them than fulfilling their promises or cost-effective policies that would make a difference in people's lives. We all saw in the last couple of years that the tendency to legislate, regulate, and support Big Pharma almost appeared to have a kind of tidal, meteorological power rather than the declared ideologies of an apparently liberal democracy. Decriminalization. Is harm reduction. Although some people fear that decriminalization may increase or encourage drug use, this concern is simply not supported by evidence. We know from dozens of countries, states, and cities that have decriminalized drugs that use does not significantly increase. In some places, it's actually decreased. Decriminalization also lowers overdose and disease rates while increasing people's access to social services and healthcare. In this way, a decriminalization model is a basic harm reduction approach, mitigating the harms experienced by people who use drugs by eliminating or minimizing the source of those harms, criminalization. Overall, the notion of decriminalization is not a panacea or a standalone solution to the harms of drug prohibition, but it is a critical step in the right direction. It will have a positive impact on the lives of so many people who are harmed daily from criminalization. This, I suppose, is an attitude that could be applied to drug use across the board, from less harmful substances like cannabis all the way to plainly more toxic substances like heroin. Within it is the revelation of a philosophy that's closer to Judge Janine there, bomb them, arrest them, control them, wage war on them, than Greg Gutfield, who's, let's face it, espousing liberal, sensible views that are focused on the sources of the problem rather than attacking the symptoms. That's what progressivism used to mean, having an assessment of social situations and individual liberty that's about practical solutions rather than imposing regulation and legislation and criminality on people when it's actually completely unnecessary and ultimately harmful. What does it
Hey, Bailey,
indicate then?
you click on employee login and log back in.
Unconscious desire to control, an
Good to
unwillingness
hear,
to
guys. Good to
fulfill
hear.
pledges and promises that would meaningfully benefit people. And as a person in recovery myself from drug addiction to a whole raft of substances, I can tell you from personal experience, both from me as an individual and the people that I've spent time with and worked with, that criminalization is an obstacle to recovery. It stops people getting well, it puts problems and barriers in their way, increases prison populations, it damages people's health, it breaks down society and the social fabric. And if you're a deeply cynical person, you would say that the state government, in alliance with global corporatists, have a vested interest in the continuing dismantling of our social systems, so that what they're dealing with is a disparate, broken population rather than a healthy, fit and awakened one. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and
All right, let
chat.
me
I'll
see.
see you in a second.
All right, click on where it says e-documents. Click on the green button that says employee start
Hello there,
wizard.
you awakening wonders. Today's
I'm gonna maximize that. Start going through those forms. Bottom of each, click next. If it doesn't advance you, it's going to tell you in red on the bottom what the problem is.
Their products are precision engineered tools like our analysis for your family jewel. Manscaped's performance package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. You get the lawnmower. This trimmer is the future of grooming, and some say the greatest ball trimmer ever. You get the Weed Whacker crop preserver ball deodorant, although if there is an odor, I mean, there just shouldn't be an odor on your balls. But if there is, this will rid you of it. The Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. In this case, the goodies are the products, not your reproductive organs. Join over 7 million men worldwide, not literally, that would be unhygienic, you'd be ankle deep in pubic hair, who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BRAND at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code BRAND. Oh, it's really actually quite satisfying because you can hear it. Can you hear that? That's the sound of youth returning. Stay free with Russell Brand. See it first on Rumble. Well, do you feel a little bit better educated?
It's easier just to type it.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And then just hit tab because it keeps putting this year's year instead of your birth year.
Hello and welcome to Football is Nice. On Football is Nice today, we're going to be
You got to do the slash.
Man City versus Real Madrid. Hopefully not in the way that Erling Haaland's father did by throwing stuff around. We're going to be looking at the forthcoming fixtures and making our predictions, talking about the forthcoming relegation battle, as well as responding to your comments. Like, for example, dhens32 or 321 says, how about you give us Yanks a quick rundown of how your football works? Do you have playoffs and some sort of championship system? Are there different leagues, or do you just play randomly play each other in the hopes of qualifying for a World Cup one day? That's culturally insensitive, that, isn't it? They may as well have called us limeys.
Where it says other names, you got to put NA too. It's also a carbon number on that phone.
Your very own Ryan
Using
Reynolds
those
is
people
in
like
with
that.
his W Wrexham. And then there's top flight football, the Premier League, where there is relegation, unlike in many American sports. Then the division below is the Championship, where Gareth's football team that are called Hull City, and on the top of that, they have to live there. That's where they play. And they do have things called playoffs there, where they can, like the top two teams go up, and then there's playoffs between the next four teams to see which one comes up. West Ham occasionally drop down, the team that I support, into that league. And of course, the World Cup is between nations rather than these professional sports franchises, as you might call them, in your country. I think that's
Nicely done.
enough for now, isn't it, Gareth? Did you watch the Champions League semi-final, Real v Man City?
I did. I thought it was a fascinating game. I mean, ultimately, I think obviously people wanted more goals, but we had two amazing goals. I mean, they were both incredible goals.
Vinicius Jr.
Yeah.
I like him. He ran around, didn't he?
He does run around. He was immense yesterday. I thought he was. I mean, I think there's like some commentary that is he the best player in the world at the moment? Maybe he is. He was astonishing.
Him and Haaland, they're the next gen greats. They're people were saying it was going to be Mbappe and Haaland, but maybe it's Vinicius Jr. Yeah, if you're a very famous person, would you want Junior at the end of your name, like Neymar Junior?
Regan, are you still Don?
If you've got
Are
a
you still
currency,
at the same address?
Right. It's all about.
Can't drop it.
Yeah.
Your
Phone
Junior,
number's still
people
the
look
same?
like implied is your dad. But then I suppose you've got to think about
1042?
women changing their name when they're married. Then you're losing your name. I reckon by the time my kids grow up, that won't happen no more.
Right.
I'm going to advise against it.
Okay.
Strongly.
They've actually made
Anyway,
it looks more complicated, but it's actually much easier. If you're are you just playing yourself?
Goal was
You don't do
amazing. I
anything.
see Vinicius Junior swapped his shirt.
There and there, and then the rest of it's just a worksheet, which doesn't do anything anyway.
Brazilians.
Now the state one is still a bit.
All right. I have a good
Okay, don't worry about license number, and that's a no.
Probably not as much as you
This
do.
few,
But yes,
you
I
just put
definitely
one
do.
I
there.
have to keep my wife interested
You
by
sign it there.
objectifying the
There.
players.
She wasn't even there, was she?
All right.
She's left me, Gal. It's
Should we start working on the
I
paperwork?
objectify-
Find out.
Interested. Your wife was at a yoga class.
My wife is now my penis. I'm a man who's married to his own reproductive organ and has to persuade it to be interested in Jack Grealish's Alice band hour after hour.
Grealish is a tough one because he does those thighs of his. And he wears
Would
those
you
li-
like him?
He
What
wears
about
those
the
little
calves?
shorts, those
They're
little calves and all
tough.
that. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. This
He
Jack Grealish.
knows
He's
exactly
playing with me.
what
lads.
game he's playing. Of course he does. He knows exactly what he's doing. Where's my phone? 'Cause I've got some good things on my phone that I wanted
bet
to
you
talk about. If you're a Sopranos fan, and I know you are, there was an episode where AJ got his eyebrows shaved off by some bully boys. We can find a still of that.
Yeah, I
perhaps.
remember that.
AJ's mates shaved, you know, that sort of fraternity type prank that you love so well in America, to shave off someone's eyebrows when they're drunk. Well, have a look at AJ when he had that done, and then have a look at Erling Haaland, and you will see a similarity. I'm not criticising Erling Haaland. He's a perfect person.
Other than his eyebrows, there's hardly any of them.
Yeah, his brow is maybe pronounced enough anyway. He's
Okay, as soon as you get that, man, we'll get you rolling.
What was Dad doing? Throwing olives and peanuts at people.
He was
Okay.
celebrating, wasn't
He
he?
was celebrating through missiles. While continuing to talk about people's physical appearances, I want to say that I've noticed this week that a lot of managers have an assistant that looks like
All
them.
right.
Ten Hag has basically another Ten Hag.
Make sure the live documents are loaded for you.
Liverpool FC, Ten Hag of Manchester United. Klopp used to have another Klopp.
Yeah. He's got
Actually, you
another
don't
one
need to do that
No,
many of
and
them.
is it another Klopp?
I know it's another Klopp.
You just did it back in October.
So that can't be coincidence,
No.
can it? They keep employing. You know how they say people look like their dogs? People look like their assistants
That's
in top flight
and-
football.
Yeah.
They get someone
Yes,
that looks
everything
like other
is-
them. Like I see Ten Hag because obviously West Ham beat Manchester United with a goal that was the
it's,
end of the career
Linton.
of David De Gea.
At United. Maybe.
At United, yeah. Like he won't like they Manchester. Like you know, who now thinks that David De Gea will be at Man United next season? No one in their right mind, and it's all because of Ben Rama's sort of like it wasn't a strong shot, was it?
Fluffed goal
Sort of
a little
fluffed,
bit.
Okay.
snuffly little shot. Dum, 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 dum.
First
Sort
name,
of going
dot
past
last
an
name.
outstretched and slightly pathetic hand. Let's have a look at that still. Yes, look, there's AJ without AJ Soprano without eyebrows. If you listen to this as a podcast, he looks like Erling Haaland. That's what he looks like. There's a lot of face there. A lot of face could do with a bit more definition. Not that Haaland isn't beautiful and
This
I
result.
don't know.
No, well, we talked about his hair last week.
No, no.
And
That's in
he-
case we have to
We did
actually.
talk about
We
that
talked
also.
about the hue of the tip
Yeah.
in considerable
Give me
detail. I
information
think
to
some
go to
people
necessary.
pulled up on that. We did talk a lot about the anatomies and bodies
Don't
of
make it necessary.
Richarlison of now of Tottenham.
And well, I mean, I have my card, so I'm just going to let you guys know.
A
This is nothing I'm gonna do here.
dermatological mural
They're the same self.
on his back that included himself.
Just like you when you
Tom
said you'd come to work
was
after break and
kind
go to
enough
work
to
after
send
school.
a
Don't
post
use on break.
explaining it.
That type of thing. I got more
At the
pictures.
bottom is a pic of him as a little boy in the Brazilian ghetto. Or
Yeah, you know the deal.
barrios.
Don't use on break.
Name for it over there. He grew up in, looking up at his
Too much
face
machinery
next
around
to
that we
two of
don't-
the great
with
footballing
injuries.
legends, Neymar.
An injury,
Ronaldo.
of course, would be one of the reasons they would do it.
Actually, quite a
Our
movie.
insurance company requires it.
Included his own face there. Yeah, that is the problem. Tattooing you on you. I mean,
Yeah.
we might as well tattoo your face on your face at that point. It's
I don't think you were working with us when that
Jackson
happened. You only
tattooed
worked
his
for us.
own eyebrows on his eyebrows and tattooed his own lips on his lips.
Yeah,
For those of you watching this
Yeah, it was.
rumble of that. Yeah, that don't look like Ronaldo, by the way.
That's why
at
I'm
all.
confused.
And
last
him
week.
down there in the barrios, or like, you know, City of Gold days, there, still with a number 9 shirt, looking towards his own future. What's that above his own future? I mean, that looks like a basketball above future Neymar. And then there's actual him, like his own back. Let me tell you about my life. It's a melancholy Fleetwood Mac song running up his own spine. There he is in the lumber, being a little boy. Mid-back, he's himself again.
Yeah, and actually, thanks for letting me. I'm going to get this one to carry right
Then
now.
right up at the top of the spine, he turns back into himself, Richarlison. So his spine is a journey into him, and that's before you even get to the vagus nerve. Well, God knows what that's telling you about. It's a complex and baffling tattoo that he's gone for. Also, some people say,
inDOCtriNATION.
some baller particularly, holy shit, you're fucking back again. Don't know a thing about soccer.
Click the start button there,
spelled wrong.
green button.
It's spelled F-U-T-B-A-L.
Do those three
But for
forms.
some reason, you two talking about it entertains me. Well, the reason we do it is because it takes us into a more relaxed manner of broadcasting, because we spend all our time talking about bringing down the government, deep state corruption, the corporatization of politics, how to diffuse the culture war. And frankly, it's terrifying and exhausting. I mean, wait till you get a load of Friday's show with RFK, you're shown inside the establishment, stuff about the pandemic, so heavy. And sometimes it's nice to just talk about football in a relaxed way. I mean, in a way, it's a selfish thing for us to do because we're actually paid to do this, but you're also supposed to do things you're not meant to do. Anyway, I've got some things I want to point out to you, Gareth, and I'd like your reaction to them.
Sure.
Why was the Bernabeu not sold out last night? I had that tour pooling across behind who won the goals. Is it not sold out?
Well,
Was there construction work going on?
It'll be that.
That's for Real Madrid and Man City. Like, I don't like it because if
Oh, they
as
should
a
not have
stand-up comedian, if I see
special
that when they black seats
more
out at one of
players
my
for-
gigs,
That's a big
I'll get
no-no for
upset.
you. Yeah.
I won't do the gig. I'll have a tantrum. I'll melt down. It turns out they're rebuilding the stadium. Why? We watched it on BT Sports. Great
Yeah.
coverage
Yeah.
from Rio and the gang, Jake, et al. Good
Then again, you
commentators,
are
good pundits. Why are they changing the name of BT Sports to TNT for?
No, I heard this as well.
It's confusing.
What's ridiculous?
Yeah.
I like that. That's your point. Don't change the name.
Leave it.
Leave it as
For
it
some
is.
corporate reason. I suppose BT is British Telecom. That's confusing because in my mind, BT still means like, well, when I was a boy, BT, British Telecom, because it was publicly owned and paid for by the public. Then they sold it back to the public for some money, and then they didn't give it back to the public. It's this thing they did during when I was growing up. They went, "We're going to sell your stuff, and you can buy it, but it's already mine." I know. That's why this is so crazy. Anyway, give us your money. You can also buy your council house, but it's my house already. I know, but you got to buy it again already. When they sold us British Telecom back, it was Busby then. He was their mascot, their icon. He was a little bird. Phone calls are going cheap. I found him again in my attic. I gave him back to my kids. So I think of BT very much as that.
Right. What, you found a little toy?
Yeah, Busby. He's lost his vest.
Oh.
That's
No.
gone. That's never coming back. Nor is his voice. You pull
You
a
kept
string.
him.
Yeah, it was sad.
Have you got many like little toys?
Yeah, I kept a few things,
Oh,
you know.
God. Is
Some of the Subutio players.
Subbuteo. Is it all kind of evocative of, you know, positive memories? Or,
No.
Right. I
It's
didn't think so.
Proustian, but it's negative.
Yeah, well, yeah,
It's
we're
Proust with a difference.
not here.
Obviously says you can evoke things through smelling something, like smell a little cake. Oh my God, I've gone back in time.
Yeah.
That's what Proust says. You smell Busby's belly. I don't like my stepdad.
Uh-oh.
I don't like my stepdad. You smell Busby's bottom. Why's my dog dead?
Yeah.
It was that sort of thing.
Did you keep those, like, I'm not going to call them trinkets.
Why?
Did you keep them so that you could tell your children sad stories?
My
from your
children
past?
only want sad stories about my life.
Really?
They go, tell us that story again about how you didn't get on with your stepdad. Well, I didn't get on with my stepdad. Go on, go into it a bit more.
Where's the toy that goes with this story?
Okay, get the toy down from the attic. Get the sad smell evoking toy down from the attic. Now put on Fleetwood Mac. Let me tell you about my life. In fact, I've got a tattoo of Colin, my stepdad, in the mid-back area. Over here by the buttock is my dog getting hit by a bicycle being ridden by the gas man. Oh, there's the fire in the allotments. It's all there, up and down the old back.
Because you told me that thing when we were in LA together, and I caught something that fell off a table, and your kids were really impressed with it. I
Oh, yeah,
remember
yeah.
that thing, and then you said that they said to you something like, "I'd be able to catch you" or something.
It was so beautiful. One night at bedtime, they were making me retell another sad story of when I was sent away at school and my gerbil's cage got knocked off.
Oh.
Like, and I knew I was going to do it. It's one of those things where that's why I try to pay attention to my intuition now. Because on that day, right, when I was 11, my intuition.
You don't have to
told
put
me,
zeros in.
careful of this
It'll
gerbil
assume
cage,
zero.
which is not even a proper gerbil
Yeah,
cage.
if you
It's
tab
a
all the way
solid
down.
rabbit hutch filled with sawdust because I'd had a rabbit before, but I thought I could keep the gerbils in there just by turning it on its back and having the cage there.
It was of your design.
I'm behind this masterpiece.
The rest is a worksheet. It doesn't do anything. All the way to the bottom and click next.
Anyway, like I perched it on the edge while I'm cleaning it out, and of course it fell. Now Barney, who was the mother of the gerbils, because I thought she was a boy when I got up, and then she had all these babies. She was crushed when the cage fell on top of her.
What do you mean emotionally?
Physically and emotionally. Physically through the midriff and all the vital organs, sadly, were crushed. As were her emotions, presumably. I can't see how they could have independently remained buoyant under such difficult circumstances. Although some ways it's possible.
Yeah, you got to put the 2,000 in the top and the 500 in the bottom.
On lottery winners and people that had become paraplegic as a result of
What's
an
that, Bailey?
accident in life, and the lottery winners that was miserable fuckers stayed.
Yeah, well,
miserable.
shoot, you
And the
keep-
lottery winners that like were happy. They were like, "This is great! I can buy whatever I want." Same
I will
with
shoot
paraplegics.
Cosgrove an email
Paraplegics
saying
that
you
miserable.
came
Like,
by.
"Oh, this is hell, obviously," and the ones that are upbeat, like,
He's always happy to hear that from me.
Back to your level of happiness. Apparently.
He's one of my best agents out there now.
In yourself and
He
find a
sends me.
deep connection with
They
God.
didn't mention
Yes,
that.
Me a few folks.
of course not. There wasn't time for that.
Oh yeah, I mean you guys can't
so
can't
when
do
I
your
tell
part
my
of
children that, 'cause they're
going
always
through. Not that I
reminding
agree
me
with
sad
the
stories.
probation
I've
system
told them
as
already
a
about
whole.
the terrible death of the gerbils. Several
Most
gerbils
folks
died.
don't.
In my mind, it's like a film. You know, in a scene in a film, like it could be Platoon, it could be a Terrence Malick film. It's one of those films that
Yeah.
it plays
Well,
that sort of
I mean,
music, and everything's all slow
that's a
motion.
good attitude to have right
Think of
now.
the beach
Hopefully,
scene,
hopefully that
nature
means.
and stuff.
No, it's the massacre on the beach, Normandy.
All right,
And they're looking around in the devastation.
where do you want to get started?
Like, you know, so there's an explosion, it goes all white.
Let's catch up on Monday then.
And then you sort of
First
rush
shift.
around, it's all slow motion now, and they're looking around for everything. This gerbil
5 a.m. to
like
3:30. It's on the
that
back
in
there.
my mind.
Yep.
Anyway, I haven't told them.
Yep.
the
If
story
anything
about
changes,
the
hey,
time,
text the
not because
office
I wanna
number,
tell it, 'cause
okay?
they love it.
It's highlighted on the back as
Emotion to
well.
it. Like, I don't know why they're trying to help me process it. I
Yeah,
think.
no problem.
They went, "It's a shame you weren't friends with Gareth then, because Gareth could have caught that gerbil cage because they'd seen Gareth
He's got a great
catch
attitude,
a
but
bowl
he
that
made it
was
half a
knocked
day.
over a meal that we were at, and Gareth went whoop, like that and caught it very quick, very impressive. And the kids were like, that's good. Gareth done that. They clocked it and they remembered it. Anyway, they thought that it's a shame. They thought that you weren't there back in boarding school when I was 11 to catch that gerbil cage. And I was like, yeah. In a way,
is a
kids.
shame.
As in a way, Gareth does do that job in a way, because my blunders that could potentially lead to travesty and problems are often caught by Gareth. Like, whoa, don't say it. Whoa, maybe not that. Maybe not that. Nose.
We'd
Like
also
that.
have saved the lives of many innocent gerbils, wouldn't we? Or wouldn't I?
Think of the ongoing, in a Schindler's List way, like think of all the descendants
You do what you
of
like.
those
Exactly right.
gerbils that would have been saved had
I've been there.
you could have been the Oscar Schindler.
Yeah, it's a total number.
of
That's all I
gerbils.
asked
We've
for there.
always wanted to be that. What would we have? Would we have been mates when we were young? I mean, you'd have been a few years ahead of me.
I was just going by what figures you had for the funeral. Doing that,
Appreciate you catching the
you have that.
gerbils.
What you're saying is that you have one
Decent of her.
adult
Tell you a thing about
on the
lady
fence.
life.
So
She's a
at
cool
least three.
mistress. Anyway,
I mean, they're gonna
so
attack-
look at these poor Max and have some
Right.
popping candy. Sorry, I've got to do French on.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's and
Let's
just
go on a
you normally
crazy
get your
journey
return.
together.
But I'm a person that normally ends up having to pay at the end of the year. So I'm not big on the federal
During
government
the commentary for a
holding my money and then having to beg
City,
for it
Steve
back. So.
McManaman said this. Oh no, my phone's actually writing down.
Yeah,
everything I'm
see,
saying.
that's why. Basically, you're at their whim.
It's so mental to see that. That was like being spied on in real
I'd rather
time.
pay
I was
just
like
pay a little
Firefly
bit
stuff. I'm
every
saying
year
everything I
if
was
you
saying.
do rather than
happening right now.
Right.
beg for
So,
what.
Steve
beg
McManaman,
for it back
formerly
'cause
of
they took
Liverpool
too much.
and of course Real Madrid.
That's what a
when
tax
there was
return
like
is.
a penalty claim at one point.
Having
in the
reviewed
game,
that
he
just
said,
means I have to do my
"It's getting
portion, so you're
ridiculous.
good there.
Everyone
Hey,
wants a
Don.
penalty for everything now.
You are good to go.
Everyone wants a penalty
for shift?
for everything. Oh, a penalty for that.
Every
Oh,
Monday?
a penalty for that. It's everyone doing it.
Okay,
It's not that
5:15
bad,
is the
Steve.
start date.
It's not everyone wants
No.
a penalty. That's as
23.
extreme as it could be.
Yeah.
You can't. That's hyperbole. You can't go beyond that.
Oh,
Everyone.
is that how it
You
is?
could say some people
I've never
think
been there
that.
that early.
No, everyone wants a penalty for everything. Now, whoa, that's too much. I can't deal with that level of people wanting
Yeah.
penalties.
He
All
was
right.
on the side of City, I guess.
All right, if anything comes up or if you need anything, just shoot me a text,
Doing
okay?
the kind of usual
All right.
Madrid thing of
Good luck. And as soon as he gets his ID, we'll be able to get him
Would you
on.
not maintain an affinity?
You would have thought so, but I guess he's a proper pundit, isn't he?
If you know a lot about football, right, or even just a culturally interested
Make sure I
individual,
reset.
here are some
Set up your
things
login right for you.
that you oddly will know. Daniel Levy. Oh, they're going to have to negotiate. Oh, they're going to have to negotiate with Daniel Levy at Spurs.
He's a tough
Oh,
one. He don't give anything away, Levy.
Like,
Okay.
no, why do you know
You're
that?
you're-
Like, why doesn't everyone know? It's like he can't be mentioned.
Yes.
It's like if someone mentions kilts,
Right.
you have to go,
No.
oh, did you wear underpants under them? Or did you do it? That's what you have to say,
Yeah.
right? It's like those two things live together. Someone mentions
Okay, that's
Daniel
fine.
Levy.
That's fine.
Oh,
That's true.
he won't let Kane go to Man
I'll
United.
probably
He's
call
a
Dawn
tough
and ask her.
negotiator, Daniel Levy. Is he what? Especially
She just
particularly
answered my
beyond other
email.
people so much, though, that
Right
he
after
has
Dawn
to
walks
be
out, she's
mentioned
like,
every
"Oh, I
time.
can
Like it's
see
a
2
song.
for a
Like
second."
there's a button on your
All
perineum
right, so-
that's pressed every time Daniel Levy's name is mentioned. Daniel
Yeah.
Levy, chairman of Tottenham Hotspur. Oh,
Okay.
actually.
Now, do you remember the login you
I've
created when you
never
did it?
negotiated with
Daniel
Daniel
Levy.
Ever.
The
Okay.
only thing I know is when he's on
No,
the
no.
bench, he seems nice.
The
Yeah.
login
That's
is
never
just
happened
be
in my
friend.
life. And yet, as you said,
Okay.
if
Do you remember
mention
what the password would have been?
Daniel, that's the first thing I will do.
Okay.
Good
Well,
luck.
give me a second. I gotta
All right,
get.
are we going to split this bill then, Daniel? Oh, you know, it's like as if every one of us has had the experience of Daniel
Okay.
Levy going, I never had none of
No, I mean I can reset it if you
You
need. It's
drank
not a big deal.
that red wine.
Right. Click on
I
employee
take
login.
water.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like that Daniel Levy isn't going to negotiate with you about everything all the time. Although Harry Kane is 50 years old and he's down now.
And has
Not
won
got his
nothing.
dream move. He's just trying to. He's trying to win. They're having to make a statue of him just so he wins something. And now you've won this. It's you, but just made out of metal. Oh, does anyone else care? Nope. No one cares.
I'd
and if you
prefer
ever do
to go
anything
to
else,
Man City.
well, could I go to Man City and win things?
Yeah. Go and try and type in the password.
You're staying here to look at Metal You. You've
Yeah.
got Metal You now. Metal You should cheer you up. That's one thing. The other thing is Stockley Park.
Yes.
Okay. It's going to temporarily be what's on the paper on the wall here.
Stockley Park. Listen,
Left.
Stockley Park. Don't. Stockley Park
Yeah,
is because of
where's the
VAR,
login?
video assistant.
Give me a second, though, I
referee, is
gotta
that
log
what
in.
it is? Like now they replay things like American sports have always done, and like they were saying should happen for ages and ages. Now they do that, right? Like they
Then what'll
replay
have you
things,
do,
and
it'll
then
let you
it's like
change the password if you want,
nitpickery
which-
video. Generally, I don't like VAR.
Right.
That's my general position of
All
it.
right.
Because in my
Yeah,
mind,
go
it
ahead.
belongs with technological encroachment on human capacity. That's where I place it. Of course, that opinion would alter if VAR would have helped West Ham in some way, but often VAR hasn't helped West Ham. Like, for example, earlier this season, there was a goal against Chelsea that Jared Bowen got, and they didn't use VAR. It should have been. Anyway, so it seems what I remember more is the times it goes against me than the times it goes for you.
Yeah, so that's standard, isn't it?
It's adjudicated from Stockley
I think
Park.
she wanted.
You're right, the way
That's
that
where the
people
person
talk
is.
about it. No one even knows where that is. Well, I'm sure some people do, but the rest of us don't.
I bet it's near Isleworth,
Yeah, I
where
kinda think
Sky, it's like one of those M25 unplaces.
Yes.
There's a road that loops London, and it's sort of corralled within it are unspaces and untowns. The place that I'm from, Grays, is sort of like a tassel on the M25, like a nipple tassel around the areolae of the M25. Yeah, that's how I see it. That's what I think. Yeah. So Stockley Park, people say, oh, we're going to have to see what, Stockley Park, it's just become, it's a synecdoche. That's what it is. Stockley Park now means it's become linguistically emblematic of what, of the adjudication of tech. Like a synecdoche, like the White House. It's West London near Hillingdon.
Right.
Hillingdon Life Sciences. That's all we know about Hillingdon. That's where they experiment on cats.
Yeah.
So they put soap in their eyes.
Never get the
See-
two mixed
Hey,
up.
click on eDOCuments.
Never go right. Okay.
Is it a penalty or not? I don't know. I'm having
Click
trouble
on the
with
green
tail.
button there, the employee start wizard.
Surely that was offside. I don't know.
Maximize
It
that
smells
page and
delicious,
just start
but
going
this
through this
rabbit just
one.
shat a load of blood. What? Was that offside? No, only from L'Oreal. Yeah, Hillingdon and Stockley Park have got to make sure that they don't ever cross jurisdictions like the streams in Ghostbusters. Otherwise, it's in the business park. Jamie,
course
the
it is.
producer of the show, is
Course
telling
it
us.
is.
They-
Of course,
they-
it's in an unspace.
Imagine the reason why they make so many bad decisions because they bloody hate being there for a start. Must
They're
be
there.
awful.
It's so grim. There's
Yeah.
no character.
Just
If
get
you
the
look at
PDF link.
architecture,
It doesn't go to
I've done it all in
anything.
my
It's a
day
dead
about
link.
it.
So
But if you
there used to be
in my day,
additional rules
if you
there, but
look at a
I had
municipal
to remove it
building
because it wasn't
like
universal for all the
Victorian
places
England,
that we
it's
hired for.
beautiful. Like the
Hey, Don.
masonry, like that. It's like people
Hello?
loved communities. They loved
Yes.
society. They were
Yes.
proud to participate
Well,
in
as soon
their
as you walked
culture.
out the door,
And buildings
Karen
were an
replied to me.
expression
They
of the
do have
community, an
two
expression of
spots
love.
in seconds.
Now everything's just like a sort of a dropped glum box or a sarcastic piss take like the Guggenheim. Oh, this is what
Oh no, that's fine.
oh,
That's
so
fine.
wobbly.
That's fine. It won't be hard to fill up
Like, no
those
one
two
gives a
spots.
shit
So.
anymore.
All right.
Any values?
Thank you.
I'm old. I'm officially old. I can't get
All right.
that erection. I actually can.
Let's see if Bailey will
That's
do it.
part of the problem. Just there's no need to. That's the.
Well, I'm glad we got onto that.
Yeah, well, we're about. Oh, and on that note, here comes my oldest child. Come in, darling. Come in. You're right, mate. You come see me. And then my other daughter. Hello, Mabes. Hello, Pegs. Who are my babies? You want pizza? You can do it. Sassy's still here. What are you going to say?
Poo-poo bum fucking hell.
Good girl. That's it. Another generation. Another generation. We're fine. We're going to be rich. This is a dynasty
Hey,
like the
babe.
Kennedys we're
All right.
building here. You're taking
Hello?
that, kitten? There they go.
Hey,
monkeys.
Bailey. It's
There they go.
Really like that moment.
She got back to me right after you left.
Towards you, and
There is a
thought she
spot
was
on second
leaning
shift
to
if
give
you're
you a
interested
kiss,
in that.
And actually, what she was doing is leaning into the mic
Mike.
to say,
Okay, no, that's cool.
Fucking hell.
I
Yeah,
felt
that's
the
cool.
kind of
That's cool.
pride that, like, she is actually
All right.
already.
No worries. Have a good day.
pupil has surpassed the teacher.
Yes.
I thought she was coming to cuddle me, but she was coming to just rain down expletives on the mic. You know, like, that's what they think my job is. Like, I'm going to work now, and I go, what do you think my job is? And like, they go, oh, fucking hell, bum, poo, willy.
That's a certain percentage of it. I think
It's
you're
a
absolutely right
significant
about.
percentage. It's the foundations. That's simply the foundations of what I do. Putting Vaseline on people's cuts.
Yes.
I don't think
isn't
it's
good enough.
Don't just put Vaseline on a cut,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's blocking it all up.
Right.
And why they could have done that 100 years ago. The Vaseline's been around for ages.
Yeah. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time.
They've always done that.
Yeah.
Like boxing, I suppose. A cut, they
That's
do that.
the thing. That's why I'm slightly
don't seem
surprised
right.
that we haven't moved on from it in a way. But
A
they're
cut.
still relying on the old
There you
Vaseline.
go. Put petrol in it. That'll solve it.
Yeah.
It's not right, is it? It's not the right thing to do. All right, we've got a whole bunch of content on Football is Nice.
Hey, Douglas.
Your comments, of course, and thank you so much
Hey,
for your
it's Glenn
contributions.
from,
At the end, we're going to be doing
Deployment.
our predictions. There's a relegation
Just a notification
battle.
that they do have a
We're
couple
safe
spots
now
left
after
on,
beating Man United and
Central.
ending
If
the
you're
career of
interested.
De Gea. You did tell us. In a shocking result, Everton beat Brighton.
No, first shift. No. I mean, there's always openings on first shift. It's just,
Fulham beat Leicester, condemning
it's rare that they
Leicester to
open
the
up
Championship,
spots. I
and
just
meaning
wanted
there'll
to
be a
give you that opportunity
bonanza
to
fire
get
sale at
in.
Leicester with players like Tielemans and
Okay, that's
Madsen,
fine.
maybe
That's
Bailey,
quite all right.
stays.
I think he'll
Swan
probably
song
start.
in the
No worries,
Championship.
bud. Have a good weekend.
He's the
Harvey
Harvey
Barnes.
Barnes. Sorry,
He's he one of the plum picking the left.
I think he's a great player.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who's getting all of these
I
people?
don't know. I
Who's
mean,
good
a couple
at
of
that?
them will go to West Ham.
Leicester
certainly.
fans won't like that. Do you think Forest might stay up because they beat James's club, Southampton,
It's so tight.
4-3?
I've no idea.
I want Forest to stay up.
Do you think Leicester are down?
Justin, do you guys have
No, it's
steel-toe
impossible to
shoes or
tell
boots
what
yet?
the point is because it's
You?
changing. What I'm happy about is it like West Ham's last games aren't going to be
Yeah.
significant.
Uniform's
at all.
pretty simple.
Like,
It's just
you know,
jeans
if
or
you've
like
got
Dickie type
fixtures
work
up
pants
here and
and
it's
a
like
plain
it's
white
proper
t-shirt.
maths. It's proper maths.
Yeah.
You go, hold on a minute, if they beat that, but football does that. This is what I'm holding out for. Everton beating Man City. That would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
You guys think you'd be ready to start
For the
Monday?
title race, because then like Arsenal have only got a point to make
Yeah.
up. Then it's possible. It's
Yeah.
possible. They're
Yeah.
not going to goal difference.
Yeah.
Essentially, City have to lose one
June
and
1st
draw
is the
one,
Thursday,
and
so-
Arsenal have to win everything. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
June 5th?
Is that going
Both
to
of you?
happen? Or maybe, but like that's not like last night. The Bernabeu's going to have to take them off track, is it? It's not going to actually take them off track.
No, if anything, I think it will give them confidence.
It's 14 to
There
start,
was
and then
period
it's a
in
dollar
the game
differential
where
for second.
Madrid roll over City. I mean, they'd gone 1-0 up because Man City started well, didn't they?
Yeah.
But then Madrid scored. Madrid were dominant. I thought they were going to get another one. Man City.
Oh,
got
if something
back.
changes,
I
yeah.
think it's just
I
gonna be-
would appreciate that.
BR60 attacked me, right, because I was sort of criticising both Wrexham and Man City and all that stuff.
Right.
He said, Brand, I always know I'm in for a drubbing when someone calls me Brand, you know?
Yeah.
Brand, putting success down to money shows his ignorance. That's where he starts.
Okay.
He's just starting that. It's actually quite a well-written attack. This is the...
Not a hard job.
attack.
Okay.
This one, I'll tell you that.
That's ignorant.
For the money.
But it's not, because year after year,
Yeah.
No.
you can go, this is their wage bill, this is their position. There's normally a correlation.
Yeah, the only anomaly this season is Chelsea. Everything,
Chelsea's an anomaly. Are Brighton an anomaly in the other direction?
Certainly they are. Yeah, but there are more cases for teams who haven't spent as much doing well than there are teams who've spent a lot of money doing badly. I would suggest.
When that happens, it's disgusting and mental, isn't it? Like what happens at Chelsea is mad.
Insane.
Like there's so many like good players there you can't even really remember it. Hold
Well,
on,
what's for?
Aubameyang's
Because it's their
playing. Wait a
10-hour
minute,
shifts.
What's going on? Where's
Yeah, Monday
Aubameyang?
through Thursday.
One of my favourite names to say in the world.
I mean, when they get busy, they may
Bamba,
ask you to come in on
that'd be
Friday.
enjoyable. And then Yan. right at the end.
And that's all
Played
time and a half.
Jorginho, didn't they?
Over
And
40
everyone
hours.
was
Everyone
banging
says
on
that was a
about how
master
good he was.
stroke.
But look at like another one. Chelsea just got rid of him.
He's no good. Get rid of
7
him.
million.
Yeah, it's not a bad
Oh,
schedule
oh, he's
either. You
brilliant.
get a
Well,
3-day
say anything
weekend every
without sounding
weekend.
like Chelsea.
No,
Go
it's
on.
just thing. It's amazing that when they haven't got a striker, and then you look Tammy Abraham, who they just discarded. They're like, oh, we don't have any place for Tammy Abraham.
Get him out of here.
Doing brilliantly at Roma. It's madness. Giroud gone to Milan.
Get him out of
£1
here.
million. He's in the Champions League
Very
semi-final.
agree.
It's crazy.
Because what Chelsea are, and forgive me if you're a Chelsea fan, because I've obviously got friends that are fans of every club there is. But and
Hey,
I've
got you all
got
set.
Parker, who loves Chelsea. I've got my
Thank
mate,
you for coming back.
Old what's that mate? Little Liam. He's a Chelsea fan. Uncle Rick, Chelsea fan. I know lots of Chelsea fans. But this is what they are: superficial.
So you're in the system as well already?
Without souls.
All right. If not, we can reset it. Let me
Right?
check.
Because like
Did
we're
not
a
know
Chelsea
that. That
fan,
will make things a little
like,
bit quicker
they've
for you as
corralled
well.
together these Russian purchased spoils, haven't they?
Yep.
And they're out of touch with reality, aren't they?
I think so.
Yes,
And
you are.
if they went down, like they can't go down, but like it's just such a mad experiment. And that Todd Burley, or whatever he's called, who's bought Chelsea, and the American fella, no disrespect, who's bought off the
Cool.
Russian, he looks like Luke Skywalker when he's old. He looks like old Luke Skywalker. When Luke Skywalker's on an island and it's gone wrong.
Yeah.
All set?
Todd
All right,
Burley
I'm gonna log you out,
looks a
okay?
bit like when Luke
I got you.
Skywalker's lost
It's
his
okay.
dignity and he's on an
Okay,
island. and he's
Justin,
forgotten
you can
everything
slide
he
over
stood
there.
for.
Yeah.
That's what Todd Burley.
Let me
the
get
correct way to
things
say his name.
up
Anyway,
for you now.
Brand shows his
I know you're in
ignorance.
here, so that
Man
you
United
cut
have spent
what we have to do in
$1.5
half
billion,
as
been nowhere
well.
near the league title for 10 years. Yeah, but
I don't think I've ever gone through 4 applicants
the club is
in
terrible. Look at the state of Chelsea.
an hour
God
and
knows
a
what they
half.
spent. And
Probably
Man
won't
City
be
are actually
Huh?
third place in transfer.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't
after the last
expecting it.
5 years.
I think you were the only
On
one.
the
You
way
two were
out.
the only two I was
Okay.
expecting here.
In the last what years?
There's Todd
Everybody
Burley.
just showed up,
Put him
which I
next to
don't
Mark
care.
Hamill,
you know.
all old,
As long as
all
if I have
old
the time and
Skywalker, I tell you, or even not next to, you can do it sequentially, and people can do it in their old time. Like they look the same, if you ask me. Go on.
The
What are you
way
saying,
that
Gal?
City have
Oh, yeah, for who?
the shape money came in. You can't discount that. That's
Yeah, they don't
absolutely
use
crazy
it
to do that.
anymore.
I understand what they're saying about Man United, but
Yeah, I
they've
did
been
get your
badly
resume,
managed.
Justin.
It's not to say there aren't other criteria.
I
in
think
this
Man
as well.
City,
update
everything
this
like
stuff
fair
here.
play. There's no financial fair play unless every time Man City buy.
Oh,
Do you remember your login?
They've got to buy a player for someone else.
To someone else.
Okay, I think
I
I'm
don't
gonna
understand
reset
this
it just
system
to
of yours.
see.
Because it's mad.
Is it?
Well, we're going to go into depth in a minute, right?
Your
We're gonna wrap this
username
up,
is just your
and we're
first
gonna
name,
go
not
over
last
to
name.
locals. Join us there. You know, locals,
Me
you get
look
loads of
at
amazing
forms for
content.
you.
You get to join our
Second,
conversations
maybe
like I
log
one with
in.
RFK. You can join it live and ask questions when I get around to it. It's quite hard to ask the questions during talking to RFK. You could listen to that right now. You get weekly meditate. You get weekly meditations. You get live podcast recordings. Click the red button on your screen now. We've got a fantastic show tomorrow with RFK. You are not going to want to miss that. Have a
They're
look at this
not. It's
moment of our
as
chat
it is
with
on the
RFK.
paper. They're the temp
It's
1,
all
2,
like
3
this,
exclamation
honestly.
point
Have a
with a
look.
capital
My
T.
father's first instinct, which was a good instinct, it turns out, was that the CIA. As I was almost 10 years old when my uncle was killed, and I was standing in the White House,
You
in the
guys.
foyer of the White House with my aunt Jackie Kennedy and my mother and my father. My uncle's body was in the East. I, at that point, like many Americans, was asking questions because this didn't look right.
How can you speak out openly against these kind of interests, let alone try and mobilize a political movement and stand against them without serious fear of, assassination?
It wasn't just Fauci, it was the whole U.S. intelligence military apparatus that was basically
simply not possible for you to answer that question on YouTube.
They were bragging that they could kill everybody, basically everybody in the world, for 29 cents a person.
What you're saying, Robert, even leaves many hardened conspiracy theorists quivering like Boy Scouts.
None of this is stuff that we should be doing.
Quite bloody terrifying.
This is a war where Ukraine has been made a victim, not just by Russia, but by the United States government. We have to just say, wait a minute, we got to stop fighting each other, and we got to go after the people who have their jackboot on our head. It's time.
Unbelievable that, wasn't it, Gareth?
Certainly was.
So, if you remember our locals community, join us more for this ebullient, effervescent, enthusiastic football chat. If not, I'll see you on Rumble tomorrow. Join us then, not for more of the same, but for more of the different. Until then, stay free.
Okay, switch this.
James Freeman. Today's video is coming to us from Robert Tigro on the interwebs. he live streamed this cop watch to Facebook. Look, let's just watch the video. He's got this cop who is giving out tickets, and here we go. It's very potato-y because he was live streaming. Didn't have good signal, but even despite the potato video, I'm telling you, this is
so we're sitting
is
here
gold.
live, officers from Sarasota County Sheriff's Office write tickets for people who parked their trucks and trailers illegally.
All right, so I'm going to fast forward to the interaction.
What's your name, deputy? Take that out of your mouth and tell me your name.
Okay, click on e-documents.
That's not funny, Robert.
The green button.
Nice.
All right, I'm just going to maximize that for you. Start going through those forms.
So the cop refuses to identify. He takes off. Robert follows him on his bicicleta. Robert's on his bicicleta. Now check out. There's a stop sign right there. Cop does a rolling. Oh, yeah, not quite a full stop. Robert's on his bicicleta.
Deputy in this marked patrol car.
Look, Robert. It looks to me like I know exactly why he was trying to stop Robert. He rode his bicicleta right through that stop sign inside of a parking lot.
Deputy in this marked patrol car refused to identify himself.
So he's following the cop. Cop loops back around. He loops back around. Now they're doing circles around each other. Each of them, he's trying to get behind the cop, and the cop's trying to get behind him.
I asked you for your name.
Just need to fix this.
Cop
I
tells
need
him
the period there, and then up right here, I'm going to put in.
now he's got his emergency lights on. He's trying to do a traffic stop, but Robert keeps playing Ring Around the Rosie with him.
There you go.
Oh, God. Stop in the name of the law.
Oh, yeah.
He's running from the police. Oh, cop car can't fit through there. Whatever's going on is so serious, though, that the cop, if you can see there, he has driven into the park. He's on the grass, on the sidewalk. Whatever Robert has done is so serious that this cop is now driving his car through where pedestrians and bicycles go. Aww.
Yeah.
You can't
Go
catch
down
him.
here. There. Good for you.
He's even laughing at the pig. This is some Clash
Here
with
we go.
Bow stuff right here. Always running from the police. I know. You guys are probably all thinking the same thing. Why is he running? Well, I'll tell you what. I caught up to him later, and I was able to get an exclusive interview with him in which he explained why he was running.
I just felt like running.
And the cop won't get out of his car and run. That would have been better, huh? If the cop would have gotten out of the car and ran. Looks like he's hiding behind the truck.
I tried getting him to identify himself while he was writing tickets. He refused to identify himself, got back in his car, and he left. And when I went to go follow him, he tried pulling me over. He can suck a dick.
Horrible camera work. Horrible camera work, but excellent video. There you go. So he goes down there and gets on his boat, goes out on the water, and he's got a sailboat out on the water. We'll go to that video now. So he's on his sailboat later, telling the story of what happened, and the cops, I think, saw him go out onto the water, so they get the police boat.
So
come out to
I
chase
went
him.
live and
I'm sorry?
I was recording.
Yeah, I can give you the link to it. It's just your standard safety video if you want to watch it. Actually, it's on there. We could play it on there too if you want.
I told him to take the big guy was going to give me attention. All of you guys saw him live stream. He continued to follow his car, record that license tag number, control unit number, and he tried to stop.
not a lawful stop. I knew it. He knew it. So I kept biking. And then he rode his patrol car through the park, full of kids in a sailing class. Then I got on my boat and I rode away. No lawful authority would stop. So last week, he sent a helicopter after a 70-year-old dude for a marijuana ticket.
Well, if they shoot me today for running from the cops for filming them, you know, I love you all. I appreciate you. Dakota.
Realizing that his life literally might end because he didn't stop for a ego-driven pig. All of a sudden, they've actually followed him out onto the water. It's a lot of resources to follow this guy. They got a patrol boat to go out and chase him down.
I don't care. What? Fuck you! Fuck you, Ezekiel! Fuck you! You know me! You knew me! We're gonna pull up and we're gonna send the dog. No, you're not. Yeah, we are. No, you're not. We are. What is your name? Yeah, you know exactly who the fuck I am. And I was recording him legally. I was recording him fucking legally.
Jeez.
Everything was on the internet. I don't give a fuck. Bring it. You've been on tape this whole time, pussy. You've been on tape since the parking lot. You've been on tape since the parking lot. It's all uploaded to the internet. You have no legal standing. None. None. None.
There he said,
suck a dick.
There, yeah, he said you failed to stop at a stop sign. So that's what this is all over, is that he failed to stop at a stop sign on a bicycle, and they're willing to chase him
Most
down
consider the staff.
to this extent for it.
Suck a dick, pussy. Listen.
Yeah, that's all a worksheet actually that doesn't do anything. So yeah, if you've gotten past the beginning part,
Tell me your badge number.
yeah, you're good. You go to the bottom and click next.
Yeah, it's all on tape. It's instantaneously recorded to the internet.
We do have to sign it and blink.
Just
F5.
like that, they were gone. All of them. They all went back to their patrol cars. They got back on their boat and they left the sheriff's patrol boat that just told me they were going to have dogs come into my boat and take me out of my fucking boat. And the patrol cars that were just here, they just left.
So that's what they said. They were gonna have their dogs board his boat and drag him out over allegedly running a stop sign.
What's your badge number, pussy?
And then up here,
What's
this is.
Why?
We're just gonna call it today's date.
What is your name? Tony. Fuck you, Tony.
Boom.
What's your name?
My name is Robert Tigro. Friends call me Sweet Baby Jesus.
Well,
I am going to
just so you're not claiming yourself.
Minnesota County Sheriff's deputies.
My question is, how far will you push it for something so petty as alleged stop sign running? How far will they push it? And I've shown you guys videos before. One was out of Arkansas.
Good.
where
We're suspending
somebody
review. I just didn't have to do my
pulled
portion.
over for allegedly speeding.
Okay, well, I got you guys all written down.
Window all the way.
Roll your
You
window
are good to
down.
go.
Well, roll your window.
Let me know how it goes with the
Roll
other.
your window on down. I'm Trooper Grant with Arkansas
Like I
State
said,
Police.
we can
While
get
he's getting
you
his
started as soon as you're ready.
registration and stuff, the cop opens his door and tries to
Okay.
get in his car. So
Yeah,
the
no
old man
problem.
takes off.
Yeah, you too. And what I'll do is I'm going to send you, once we have it confirmed, yes or no, I'll send you guys an email for your direct deposit. And for if you want to, you can pick one of the insurance plans or opt out.
The officer
Okay.
asks the same question that
Nice
every
meeting you
white
guys.
leader asks after he gives his wife
Yes,
a
you
black
too.
eye. Why did you make me do that?
Why did you make me do that? Are you okay? There's no reason to be scared of me. Why did you make me do that? There's no reason to be scared of me.
Something so petty as a traffic violation where there is no victim, where nobody's been harmed. And he was literally willing to, he could have killed this guy. There is nothing, absolutely nothing so petty that they're not willing to kill you for it. And it's important to remember that all laws are enforced by force. Enforced by force. And you decide that you're
you guys hear the video
in
at all?
favor of new legislation, just think.
I
Just
forgot my
remember,
earbuds,
if you
man.
decide you
They're
don't
sitting on
want to
my desk at
comply,
home.
there's a good chance that you'll die. They are going to force you to obey it, even if it means they have to kill you. That's just the way it works. Let me know in the comments below, guys, how many of you guys think Robert Tigro is going to get a no-knock raid and get his door kicked in at 2 a.m. and guns pointed at him and or his family and whoever's in there? over this alleged stop sign running. Just so you know, too, I told him, hey, man, I really want to share this because it's hilarious the way you ran from the cops, but I was going to blur out the department and I was going to withhold your name. And he said, screw it. Hell no. Put it all out there. Tell everybody it was me. Head over to Robert Tigro's Facebook page. I'll probably have some
That's
other
hilarious.
links in the description for you to the best places that you can watch Robert's videos.
There's no reason to be scared of me.
No reason to be scared of me. Of course there isn't. All right, let me get caught up on some of this chat. No, I don't. All right, cool. Midwestern. Greg, what's up? If you're still here. Anna, I got a good video coming up. Just realized it didn't hit the like when I came in. Thank you, Anna. In the Midwest, very gringo. Did you? Yep, Iowa, born and raised. Oh, I was born and raised in Michigan. Tortilla, Frita scoops with bean dip. That was one of my college favorites. Frito pies. Cool. Glad you guys are cool. Looking like a pirate, Mr. Rogers. Crackers and rackets. I'm not sure what rackets are. Won't you be my neighbor? Oh, you're talking about Russell. In the mud. Oh my God. Hilarious. Weed Whacker 3.0. I think that one of the points of getting married, so you don't have to do that anymore, right? Fortnite. God, I hate that game. Oh yeah, every time I'm in the shower. Oh my goodness, Anna. I missed some very cool chat here. $16 for a shower, even if you fill up? I thought if you filled up, you got a free shower. Oh, yeah. You can use loyalty rewards at certain places. Not always accessible. Gotcha. The sink. Whore bath. Yeah, it's ridiculous that they have special police just for truck drivers. I guess that would be expecting normal piggies to not only know travelers' rules, but they also know the driving rules. They don't even know the law when it comes to regular people. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to not smoke, so it's weird. I know quite a few drivers that do. I don't know, are they just risking it or? I love food. Can't you tell by the belly? Fallen, unindoctrinated. Chopper must have thought I was ignoring him. Street tripping juice stuff. Yeah, he was this morning too. He was like, well, I don't want to lose all the reviews that we've got so far. I'm like, I don't either, dude. But I mean, we got to make a decision. We can continue not having a listing, or you can let me renew it. I mean, if I can redo it, I'd redo it tomorrow. when I'm swing by there before I go out to Cleveland. By the way, road trip to Cleveland tomorrow, guys. I'm gonna install some voice over IP phones. Yeah, don't be tripping. All right, here's a good one, Anna. If you're still here, You're Welcome by Michael Malice.
The White Pill is available now at whitepillbook.com. This episode is brought to you by Patriot Gold.
Taylor.
Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. We have with us a very special.
So you guys are
guest,
serious?
James
You guys,
O'Keefe.
I must
His
can't see
new
you.
organization is called the O'Keefe Media Group, and you know him and you love him because he's done better than pretty much anyone at putting some very nefarious people on the spot and force them to answer questions or at least run away from questions that they otherwise would not want to answer. The first thing I want to talk to you about, James, you sent me signed copies of all your books. I've been going through them. Look at this infant on the cover of this book. If you could go back in time and talk to this child, because look at a baby face, what would you say to him? Because this book came out in 2013. Yeah.
Exactly 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I have so many thoughts. What would I say to him? I would say.
I'll hold it up so you can see it.
There you go. There it is. I shot that in New York City at a studio with a bunch of left-wing videographers and photographers, and I was sort of posing this. and I was
Blue Steel.
I had just gotten off of federal probation for 3.5 years. I was on supervised probation, and I was a free man. I started working out. Andrew Breitbart had died. I've thought about this idea of like regret and like, is there anything that you wouldn't do? I think I had to go through all these things to learn lessons.
Yep.
And then that I applied in the future. So I think there was a little bit of idealism and naivete about human nature. That probably was my greatest issue that I learned over the last decade. In other words, people took advantage of me or hurt me because I believed that they were out to help me. So I think but then again, people told me that, and I just had to learn it the hard way.
Yeah.
So I mean, other than that, I think we're kind of in new territory here. No one's really ever written a book about what we're going through. So, but the number one thing I'd say is, people say, James, not everyone's out there to help you. Not everyone's mission driven.
Yeah.
People are really out to F-U-C-K. I don't know if I can say that on the air here.
Yes, you can. And racial slurs.
And no racial. I mean, I report other racial slurs, but people are really out to fuck you, basically.
Yes.
And I know that's like a cliche, and everyone always says that, but I think my upbringing and how I was raised, and I want to believe the best in people, and oftentimes people really let you down. I think that probably would be an older James would say to a younger James.
I think one of the things you talked about in this book, and I've experienced this in my career, is people underestimate, especially when you're young.
I mean, the phone's still ringing
how
at least.
brazen and blatantly people will do what they need to kind of stab you in the back, even knowing that this is going to harm their own personal reputation, and they won't even be kind of they won't even put a kind face about it. They'll just be blatantly doing things because you're a threat to their status or their power, or they just simply don't like you. And that's kind of hard to wrap your head around when it's people who are in some sense like fellow travelers in a cause that you believe in. And you're like, I looked up to you. I thought you were a good person. And now you're just treating me like, like a Clinton villain.
Yeah, I just played that video.
I mean, the betrayal is the hardest thing. And,
Yeah.
One of the FBI sources that we interviewed last year, one of the things he said, his name is Kyle Seraphin is his name. And he said the paycheck and the pension leads to the Holocaust. That's what he said, which is a very profound and highly existential statement. But I found most people in life just want the paycheck. That's really what it comes down to. It's just the paycheck. And it's quite hurtful to see people behave that way. It's certainly not what drives me or whatever motivating, but it's the majority of people. And frankly, it's the majority of people in a movement that's ostensibly about helping people and the cause and the public policy and changing the world. Like, I don't know, 99% of people in that movement just want the paycheck. And that's very, it makes you sad. It makes you sad. I don't know if it makes me angry or sad or both. I guess you go through different phases of grief. I think Tucker Carlson said it most recently when he was removed. Did you see the interview that he did before he was removed? And one of the things he said, let's see if I can pull it up here, is he says it makes him sad to see people saying things they don't believe in just to keep their jobs. It's a tale as old as time, but it's certainly something that I've seen. See if I can pull up the direct quote. Yeah, there it is. You see people revealed as cowards, saying things they don't believe because they want to keep their jobs, and you're so disappointed in them. And you realize that maybe the herd instinct. And by the way, open up that book, Breakthrough.
You want me to read it?
You sent this already.
Dedicated to the idealist sitting in a classroom.
Yeah, I'd already
or an
pulled
office
up
whose
ready.
conscience tells him, of course,
James O'Keefe,
to take a stand against the status quo, and whose courage allows him to ignore the world around him, which tells him to sit down, shut up, and comply. Amen.
There it is. And Tucker's quote, again, a few days before he was removed, and to not be cast out of the group and to not be shunned. That's a very strong impulse in people from birth. And it takes over in moments like this. And it's harnessed, in fact, by bad people.
Yes.
In moments like this. And you see people going along with this. And you lose respect for people. You begin to realize that the way you thought of the world is no longer. And how could you go along with this knowing that it's not true? And so that's the metamorphosis that I've been through, in the last 10 years. Perhaps I was naive. Perhaps I'm still naive. Perhaps one needs to be naive in order to do this. Or you have to be, as I said to you in the last interview, a masochist. One or the other.
I think I would bet money you would agree, I would rather be naive and become disillusioned than to start out as a cynic and remain a cynic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes people can let you down, but a lot of times
You are
they
a white
won't.
pill person.
And those ones that don't, the ones who are ride or die, who really are good people through and through, those to me are the ones that matter.
Is that like better to love than never to? What's the saying?
Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
I think so, because there's a lot of good in the world. Here's a question for you: is it good people doing bad things, or bad people doing bad things, or what is the combination there? Is it the bad things that we're seeing are the line that separates good and evil runs through each and every one of us, every human heart? So, we were talking about Solzhenitsyn last time. So what percentage of these people are actually decent people just doing bad things, or are they just bad people?
I think they're animals, not in a savage way, but if you tell a dog to roll over, it knows if I do this, I get a reward. So they're not thinking in terms of morality. They're just thinking of, okay, I'm getting a treat if I do this. If you tell me to go bite this guy approaching the house, even though my instincts are to be friendly, I'm going to do it because that's what my master wants. And they shut off that higher part of their brain that is what makes us human, which is their conscience. And I think you see it over and over, and you will find any rationalization to justify, you're too idealistic. I've got a family. There's no, and the corporate press will have no shortage of reasons to tell you why you're doing the right thing, to sell out your values and to compromise and to throw people you like under the bus.
Really profound. There's sort of a disinformation bubble that exists amongst the people who made these decisions, like a North Korean style disinformation bubble. Logic, reason, nothing matters if they're rationalized their own decisions. And I'm in the business of confirming fraud and corruption and truth in a cinematic way, with the idea of shaking people awake. And kind of testing the boundaries of that moral order. Like I try to create, we create morality through journalism by exposing through informed consent. But if that doesn't work on people that are good, that I thought were good, and they just engage in their own disinformation bubble, and they put the, it's fair, man. You got to be really have a firm constitution to not be disillusioned to the point of losing all hope, So that, anyways, there's a lot to say about that.
There's a few references in this book that were kind of cryptic that I want to pick your brain on. The first one is her name pronounced Lila Rose? Is that Lila's how she's pronounced?
Lila Rose.
Yeah. So you worked with her in the Acorn Stings. You mentioned here that her attorney was David French. Is that the David French?
Well, actually, Lila Rose, I work on the Planned Parenthood stings.
Sorry. Right. Sorry.
In 2008 timeframe. Yeah, David French was an attorney at the time. This is 15 years ago. For I can't remember the name of the group, but he was her lawyer in California.
Does that kind of? What are your thoughts about David French since and his career now?
I don't follow him too closely. I think he's become more of like an anti-Trump guy, but I can't comment because I don't recall exactly what he's said and done. He represented Lila because she was sued under California's Penal Code 632, and Planned Parenthood sent me a cease and desist letter. Her and I a cease and desist letter. This is $1 billion corporation threatening me with this criminal statute. We're cease and desist publishing this video. The video showed a Planned Parenthood official in Santa Monica counseling Lila and I to lie about her age so that she can get an illegal abortion. She was saying that she was 14 or 15, and they said, quote, just figure out a birth date that works. This is what they said that we caught on tape. I was holding this camcorder sort of, and she was undercover at the Santa Monica Planned Parenthood. And we get sent the cease and desist letter, and there was a part of me, Michael, that was like, maybe I should just back down. But there was I would say it was a mischievous part of me that said, people need to see this cease and desist letter. So I would characterize it as mischief more than a desire for anything. I was like, people need to see this. People need to know what this is. So I forwarded it to someone who forwarded it to Bill O'Reilly at the time. And Bill O'Reilly invited Lila and David French on the air. And this diminutive 18-year-old UCLA freshman is under attack by this Leviathan. And shockingly, Planned Parenthood rescinded the legal attacks. And I think that was a very early lesson for me, that, sometimes you just sort of have to run towards the fire.
Folks, I'm really excited about this sponsor. Now, you guys know that one of the surest paths toward depression is giving up your guns or not having one when you need it, which is why I want to talk about a big mistake people make with their holsters. The mistake is they get one that's so uncomfortable you stop using it, meaning your quest to defend yourself or your family falls apart at the start. That's why the Vanish holster is quickly becoming one of the most popular holsters in America. Thousands of customers say it's the most comfortable holster ever, and when you get one, you'll never stop carrying, and it also saves you money. Because if it's 99% of all semi-automatic handguns, works without a tactical belt, lets you carry multiple positions, and carries 2 fully loaded magazines. Best of all, because you're a dear reader and a support of our podcast.
Thank you, inDOCtriNATION. Thank you for coming.
Off. Go to vnsh.com/malice. Activate your discount today. It's normally $130. You get a steal.
I can't wait for the day.
Fan. Go to vnsh.com/malice today to claim your $50 discount. I am absolutely ecstatic to welcome them to the show. Folks, did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? And if you wake up too hot or too cold, I recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. They're inspired by NASA. Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. These fabrics were inspired by NASA. They're thermoregulating. They're designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long. You get better sleep every night. And because they're infused with silver, that prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth. They stay cleaner, fresher, 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. And they're very comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. They feel as nice, if not nicer, than bed sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Clean sheets means less bacteria to clog your pores, fewer breakouts, and other skin problems. All you got to do is go to trymiracle.com/malice to try Miracle Made sheets today. And with Mother's and Father's Day right around the corner, this is the perfect way to give someone you love the gift of better and more luxurious sleep. Not a bad idea. Save over 40%. Be sure to use the promo code MALICE at checkout to save even more, and you get 3 free towels. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you aren't 100% satisfied, you get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/malice. Use code MALICE to get a free 3-piece towel set. Save
you guys watch
40%
that,
off. That's trymiracle.com/malice to treat yourself to a better night's sleep. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to the show. Something else you mentioned here, which I was really interested to hear. In the book, you mentioned that Matt Taibbi hated your mentor, Andrew Breitbart. Taibbi's recently gotten some acclaim as releasing the Twitter files, and he actually got into it a little bit with Elon Musk because apparently there was an issue with promoting your Substack on Twitter, and Elon unfollowed Taibbi. Can you talk a bit about this animosity between the two of them, or if it was one way, maybe?
Between Andrew and Taibbi, and when Andrew died, March 1st, 2012, I remember Taibbi wrote a scathing column. Maybe your listeners can Google it. He was calling, I think he called Andrew the C word or some horrible, I can't recall exactly what but listen, I mean, these are animosity between two personalities. There are things that Matt Taibbi disagrees with politically with Andrew Breitbart, perhaps there's things that, I mean, I don't really take a political stance on anything, but there are things that he disagrees with, or he disagrees I'm exposing, but I tend to want to look at the Venn diagram where that overlaps, more so than where we all disagree. And I would point to the presidency of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's running for president, rather, and he's now achieved 20% of Democratic voters are supporting him. And this is a guy who probably disagrees with conservatives on a lot of issues like the environment and what have you, but he's raising attention to this sort of issue of the nexus between corporate power and government power, which is something that Taibbi is raising, which is something that I'm raising, which is something that Andrew Breitbart is raising. So I think these things that, I know it sounds like I'm going to sound a little bit like a hippie here, but the things that unite us are I believe, more powerful than whatever petty personality disagreements. That's how I saw it, was a personal animus of some type.
I think it's funny because I think conservatives now realizing that, the hippies weren't all that bad. If you go back and you're like, they hated war. Okay, maybe they were a little too bohemian, too hedonistic, too unhygienic. But if that's the worst that the left has to offer, like kind of being a schlub and not killing people overseas, is that really so bad compared to what's going on nowadays? It's it's kind of like they go back, they're like, these guys really weren't so awful.
Yeah, it does seem to me like the everything's changing. I point to that RFK phenomenon. I met RFK Jr. In the last 6 months, and he's supported the work that we've done on the pharmaceutical industry. And he's on a mountaintop. He tweets a picture out of me, February 15th or so. It's on Twitter. I just retweeted it recently again, and then I was removed from Project Veritas that week. But now he's running for president for the Democratic nomination.
Right.
So I think things are changing, and it's hard to know what left and right means anymore. It's hard. I think it's more of like a spiritual war now that we're fighting.
Oh yeah.
Right versus wrong. That's the really interesting question is morality. How do you define morality anymore? What is good versus bad? What is right versus wrong? As a journalist, you say, truth versus fiction, left versus right. No, it's good versus evil. Right versus wrong. What is wrong? And how do you shake people awake with some semblance of morality? One of the things I'm doing right now, and one of the things I'm launching next week, is I'm launching a series of master classes through OMG.
Wait, hold on. Let me interrupt you because that's going to be the next segment. There's just one more question about the book, then I do want to talk about OMG. And by the way, if you look, the subtitle of my last book is A Tale of Good and Evil, so you're speaking exactly my language. So there's just one more cryptic reference in this book where you said something about Glenn Beck kind of turning his shoulder on you guys. Can you talk a bit about that?
Oh, yeah. That's actually interesting. People haven't asked me about that in 9 years. So
okay.
I like the
I'm a hipster.
No, it's good. When I did a story on NPR in March 2011, this is a big story. It prompted the CEO of NPR to resign, a woman named Vivian Schiller. It was a hidden camera recording of a guy in a restaurant in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., disparaging Jews, the Tea Party, and saying, those gun-toting white people and all these sorts of, bombastic statements. This is the vice president of fundraising for National Public Radio. He resigned. His name is Ron Schiller, no relation to the CEO, Vivian Schiller. She resigned. And this is a massive story. And I broke it on my own. I broke it through Veritas. This is like the first big story through Veritas. Acorn was before Veritas. And this was really, and it was through two guys that worked with me. Sean Adelaide and Ken Larry were the undercover reporters. Very brave, two brave guys that had this camera. This is about to get to Glenn Beck. The camera was in a I guess you could call it a pocketbook that was sitting on an adjacent table and captured him perfectly in frame. And I released the full raw video. It was a 2.5 hour video. At the time, Michael, all the attacks on me was that I doctor tapes,
right?
We edit tapes. They still say that sort of, but not as much. They say I hired these people to be the subjects. I used CGI manipulative techniques to move the lips. First of all, I was so broke, I could barely even. I mean, the notion that I would using CGI, I don't even barely know how to use Final.
Wait, they accused you of a deep fake before those even existed? That's amazing.
I don't even think it was a thing. I mean, but
yeah,
they meaning my political opposition. I don't even know why they're opposed, but they were coming up with any conceivable way that what they were looking at was not real. Okay, so that was happening. So to counter this, I decided to release the full raw tape, which no journalist ever does. Katie Couric doesn't do it. Mike Wallace doesn't do it. 60 Minutes doesn't do it. But I'm trying to do the right thing in a journalism ethic where I'm under assault in a way that no other investigative reporter is. And Andrew Breitbart, still alive at the time, said, James, you have to hold yourself to the highest standard, to ridiculous standards. Standards Pulitzer Prize winners don't hold themselves to. Okay, fine, I did it. In this raw recording, the NPR vice president makes statements that I have to redact. He's talking about his reporters in Libya. He names them. I can't publish that. That would be unethical for me to publish that. As much as it would be unethical for me to publish, I believe, like the Crowder thing that happened, I don't want to publish private disputes in a marriage or in a bedroom. So I redacted that part of the tape. Follow me? Glenn Beck and his Blaze, this is now, we're in March, April 2011, publishes a scathing attack on me and says, did O'Keefe doctor this tape? And he points to the redaction that I made in the raw tape. And he goes, it's unclear why O'Keefe chose to, and I'm paraphrasing, it's unclear why O'Keefe chose to omit the audio of section 2 hours and 11 minutes to 2 hours and 11 minutes and 36 seconds. And I was like, it was like Kafkaesque. I was like, what do you want me to do? You want me to release the raw tape? I do that. I redact a part to protect the Libyan reporter, and then you attack me for redacting. And of course, all the New York Times, and everyone cited Glenn Beck and said even Glenn Beck thinks the O'Keefe report, and this is the even logic. Even this person thinks. That was another lesson in life, and then of course, what I learned was no, I'm not going to release the raw tape because even if I do that, it doesn't satiate them. Hell, even if I release the tape from the moment I walk into the building to the moment I walk out, they'll just say, "Well, how do we know you didn't turn the thing back on and walk in again?"
Right.
Like, I mean,
did he reach out to you to ask why you cut that segment?
I don't believe so. The guy's name was Scott Baker, who was an editor at the Blaze who had a dispute with Andrew Breitbart. So I was caught in the middle. Maybe I shouldn't be saying all this, but I'm a pretty honest guy, and it's 10 years ago, so I'm just going to tell you the truth. This is the truth. It's sort of in the weeds here, but Scott Baker worked for Andrew Breitbart, left Breitbart to work for Glenn Beck, and Scott Baker issued a scathing attack upon me. And the question is, why would he do that? Is it to get in the left-wing press? Is it to be beloved by the New York Times? He got that. In fact, for many years, if you Googled him, all you would see is all the attacks against me. And that was really hard. That was probably at that moment. I mean, I'd been jailed. I'd been on probation. I'd been through many various things. That was really hard because it was sort of like not betrayal, but it was like people that were supposed to be allying with you in this proverbial fight for justice and truth were hurting you ostensibly to advance themselves. That's what it seemed like. And I remember, people like Larry O'Connor and Andrew were really I mean, these guys were really hurt for me. And I learned so many lessons. I mean, I learned a little bit about human nature. I spent weeks grieving over that. I had Bob. These are all the journalism kings. Bob Garfield at National Public Radio on the phone with me for an hour on the air talking about this Glenn Beck thing, and that was rough. That was a rough thing to go through.
Folks, the Wall Street Journal warned, don't just sit there, do something. And Wall Street's wisest advice this time is to sell in May and go away. Morgan Stanley warns that commercial real estate is heading for a crisis worse than 2008. It's no longer a black swan. It's a flock of black swans. With the banking crisis, commercial real estate, de-dollarization, rate hikes, and persistent inflation, BRICS is the hottest ticket in town, with 19 additional countries looking to join and move away from the US dollar. And the Chinese yuan just passed the dollar as the most used currency in China's cross-border payments in March for the first time ever. And it's no wonder Google searches for how to buy gold hit record levels in April 2023. That's not that long ago. It's as simple as calling the Patriot Gold Group today to get your hands on some gold. Find out why they are A+ Consumer Affairs top-rated gold and silver company nationwide. Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late and mention my name. That's Michael Malice. You'll always get best-in-class service from Patriots, protecting Patriots. Patriot Gold Group has the no-fee-for-life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no-fee-for-life IRA on qualifying rollovers. All you got to do is call 888-505-9845 and get a free investor guide today, or just go to malicegold.com. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs top-rated gold IRA dealer 6 years in a row. So call 888-505-9845 or just go to malicegold.com. Protect your money. Let's get back to the show. Well, speaking of rough things, before we get to the O'Keefe Media Group, very publicly, you and Project Veritas, which was your baby, parted ways. I'm sure this was traumatic, to put it mildly. You just mentioned earlier that you had released a 45-minute statement regarding it. Can you just briefly, for those who aren't aware of the situation from your perspective, I'm sure you've been asked this many times, but, first of all, it can't have been fun. I mean, this must be very disturbing. You were very much closely in the public eye. You and Project Veritas were perceived as one and the same. Can you talk a bit from your perspective about how things went down?
Oh boy. That's a very broad question. I can answer it I did a 45-minute long departing remarks, only to my staff. About half the staff showed up that day, maybe a little less, because we have some remote workers and some of the ones who didn't. This was on February 20th. First, I'll say that you should watch that if you haven't. I retweeted it. Your audience can watch it. If you haven't watched it, that really is from the heart. I was very vulnerable. I was very honest. I was very sincere, without disparaging anybody. But I gave some facts. I learned a lot of things through this whole experience. I never really focused on board of directors management. I never really thought about that. For those of you who don't know, 501c3s, which we were, are required to have a board. And you might say, what does that mean? Well, a board, a nonprofit isn't owned by me. It's governed. It's tax deductible. And I never really thought about who was on my board. I never really focused on the bylaws. I never really. It was inconceivable that something like this might happen, and that's my mistake. And I think I built a great journalism team, a great production team. I built a great series of core values, and I believe I built a great company. I was the CEO, I was the chairman, I was the founder, and I did a little bit of everything. It was unusual because I was responsible for the majority of the fundraising. We didn't really have a big fundraising team. We were a $25 million company. And most nonprofits have all they do is fundraise. I was on the road making very aggressive asks. I was working probably 80 to 90 hours a week, always moving, always going around. A lot of that stuff was used against me. They said you take too many meetings, you travel too much, you travel in SUVs as opposed to Uber X's, and this is an improper expense. I mean, they're wrong. That's not improper. It's perfectly justified, especially when you're targeted like I am, and especially when you're on the phone with sources, like in the Pentagon. You don't want to be in an Uber X.
Right.
So it was really bizarre, and it didn't actually make any actual sense. And if I tell you what happened, it's only going to lead your listeners more confused with more questions. A lot of people thought the timing was suspect. We did a story on Pfizer just days before, and that was circumstantial evidence. I often say it was either really stupid to do it days after the Pfizer biggest story of our career, or someone was compromised, or both. And the only thing that's changed about me in the last 15 years, because I've always been a difficult guy to work for. I'm definitely intense. I definitely pull people that don't want to be pulled. And that's what I think a good leader does. You try to bring the most out of people. You can't teach hunger. But I think that's what a leader's supposed to do. That was weaponized against me. I was definitely a driven man. I am a driven man. I'm very specific. I expect a lot of people, and I'm an exacting taskmaster, and I'm an artist. I'm a creative director. So it was a very bizarre thing. I don't really have all the answers. Maybe answers will come out eventually, but I would point you to an article written by Dr. Robert Malone called "The Institutional Pathology" that removed James O'Keefe from Veritas. And he talks about the sort of psychology of being a leader, and I don't want to paraphrase it, but people kind of coming after you as the talent, as the chief executive officer. The same sort of thing happened to Travis Kalanick at Uber. He founded Uber. These sorts of happened to what's his name? Apple. Steve Jobs.
Yeah, Steve Jobs.
And look how that turned out. Now, I'm not Steve Jobs, but they fired Steve Jobs from Apple in 1985. He started another company, Next, and then Next was acquired by Apple. So it's I wouldn't necessarily attribute to malice, pun intended. I wouldn't attribute to malice and bribery what we can attribute to sort of perhaps a pathology that is a part of an organization where you have someone like me at the helm.
Well, no, it was definitely me. I did it, and I'll do it again. Just one last question. One last question on this before we move on to your new venture. They went after you very publicly, very hard. Of all the criticisms that were levied against you, which would you say is the most accurate, and which would you say is the least accurate?
A good question. I mean, a lot of the criticisms are admitted. Like I did take black cars to meetings. In fact, I think I'm going to take black cars to every meeting now. I'm going to take I might be calling the master class the Black Car Academy. I pull up to the Cronkite School in a black car. I don't know what matters why it's black or green or red or white. There was all this stuff about black cars. I don't get it. Do you? Does anyone understand?
Well, I think black cars is a shorthand term like Scotch tape for a certain type of luxury vehicle.
Okay. Admitted, yes, I definitely did that. And I mean, and I probably flew private maybe once a year or so. If I had like a lot of meetings on a given day or had to get someplace fast, when you're a chief CEO of a $25 million company, you have 70 employees. Your time is precious.
Yeah,
you can get $100,000 from this grant, and then you got to go on camera, and then you got to go to this state. It's just economics. It's basic economics, which some people understand and some people resent. For example, one person made a statement, I'm paraphrasing, said, there should be this, everyone should make, I'm paraphrasing. He said,
yep,
he shouldn't be doing that while everyone else does something else. In other words, everyone should make the same amount of money. Well, that's called socialism. And that won't work in an organization. I can't pay everyone the same. I can't make the same money that the intern's making. I can't stay in. I have to have a secure driver. And not because I want one. Trust me, I don't want security. But when your life is threatened and when you're on the phone with sensitive sources, you can't just get in the car with anybody. I've made that mistake before. My undercover people got burned. So it was sort of like this pathology. So you don't want me to have security guard? Okay, I won't have one. Or you don't want me to take a secure driver? Okay, then the undercover people will get burned. It was pathological, and I fought back to the extent that I could, but I was outnumbered by the people in authority, and that's my mistake, because you have to learn that lesson, and I think we're entering a world, and this is let's be forward looking here. You're entering a world where I think it's harder to find rational people. I just think it's harder to find rational executives. I mean, Generation Z and millennials, they're entitled. They all feel like they deserve everything. They don't have to work for it. And this has been a phenomenon that's happened in the last 5 to 10 years. As far as what's inaccurate, I mean, any allegation of misspending, there wasn't. I mean, they didn't put anything up. So I would say that was hyperbole, really, more than anything else.
So let's talk about the O'Keefe Media Group. Before we even start talking about that, is there this kind of sense that like holy crap, I got to start from ground zero? Or is it more like, you know what, now this left my bad taste in my mouth, this is an opportunity for me to kind of keep going with the work I've been doing so successfully for the last over a decade?
Well, an advisor of mine said, when you're a boxer and you get hit hard in the face and you fall to the ground, they give you a count. I believe it's 9 or 10, and you're wounded. You're wounded. It hurts. The pain. I mean, we've all been through pain in life, right? You've been through pain. Everyone, whether it's the death of a loved one, loss of a job, your illusion is shattered. Okay, and my illusions have been shattered repeatedly. I mean,
So James or Michael Malice just posted on his locals. His show was #1 with Mongoloids yesterday.
Each month for 15 years, my illusions have been shattered. Some more than others. This was a giant shattering blow. When this happened on February the 6th, I was in so much pain that, or actually a few days prior, I was in so much pain that I was on the floor of my bathroom in my hotel, gasping for air, almost like dry heaving.
I've been there. I was in the fetal position in the kitchen floor once when I did my first book, and my editor called me and he just read me a new one. And the way Jeremy, F you, Jeremy, he says to me, "Don't worry, it's too late to hire a new writer." That was supposed to be reassuring.
Oh God, that's a lot of people are there's a lot of sadism in this world. A lot of sadism. We've all been there many times in our life in different ways. It hits differently when your raison d'etre is to expose and do the right thing. Because as a founder of a company, I was in my dad's garage on federal probation with nothing, not just nothing, negative equity. I didn't even have money. I had credit card debt. And I'm not talking like venture capital debt. I mean like $8,000 on my MasterCard, and the creditors are calling me, and I'm ignoring them when I'm 24 years old with my shitty Best Buy camcorder, and I'm taking insane risks to build something out of nothing when everyone's telling you that it can't be done and it won't be done, and I'm stupid for even thinking about it. And 14 years later, I'm dry heaving in a floor, being removed from that which I found. It is a pain that is impossible to articulate unless you've been there. Other people have been there, by the way. I'm not the only one. Churches, hospitals,
of course. Yeah.
But it was bizarre. And I was on the floor like a boxer. And one of my advisors, I won't say who, but a brilliant man. There have been people that have been there for me. He said, "You need to get the fuck back up.
Yep.
You are wounded right now, and everything inside of yourself is stay down, go hiking on the Pacific Crest Trail from Mexico to, Canada, sail around the Bahamas. No. Get back up." And he said, "There's an army of people out there who believe in you now more than ever, and frankly are inspired by this. In fact, one of those people was the Pfizer whistleblower, a woman named Debbie Bernal, was one of 2 Pfizer executives or individuals. And she was so inspired by what happened that when we spoke, she said, I'll go on the stage with you.
Wow.
This is March 1st. This is, 10 days after this happened. And so I had to channel something within me to reach deep inside of myself. And the only way I could do that, this is perhaps a little psychological, was to not focus on the trauma and the pain, but to focus on the creative, passionate side, just to try to find any way to focus on the reason why I started to begin with.
Folks, experts say that China is hoarding a massive amount of food. They'll soon have over 2/3 of the globe's corn reserves, over half its rice, and over half its wheat. But when asked about it, China lies. One China expert said they, of course, will never admit to doing something like that. Well, what does China know that we don't? When it comes to global food shortages, China is the canary in the coal mine. You see, China is the world's #1 food importer. They rely on the rest of the world to keep their people fed, so they can't afford to mess up, or there'll be riots, civil panics, or even worse, when over 1 billion people can't eat. So what does this mean for Americans? 2 words: food shortages. That's why it's a smart idea to stock up on a kit of the best-selling 4 Patriots survival food. You
Where I
can
order my
own
MREs.
stockpile
I
of
should
the
get them to
best-selling
sponsor
4
me too.
Patriots survival food kits, which are hand-packed in the USA. They're compact and stacked easily, and they have delicious
Thanks for the
different
follow,
breakfasts,
Justin.
lunches, and
On
dinners.
Rumble.
And their 5-star reviews on the website rave about the flavor and taste. Right now, you get 10%
Normally
off
the sound
4 Patriots
better.
survival food by typing in the code
Screw up,
MALICE
I forgot
at
my
checkout.
earbuds
Go to 4
today.
Patriots, that's the number 4, 4patriots.com, and use
Appreciate it,
code
though.
MALICE to get 10% off your first purchase of 4 Patriots survival food. That's 4patriots.com. Use code MALICE. Folks, Michael Malice here, podcaster, author, and yes, underwear model. Sheath is something that I wear every day, and the great thing about Sheath underwear is that they have dual pouch technology for both parts of your anatomy. They also have a
Should I
girl's
model
line.
mine?
I don't wear that stuff. Dave Smith might. Go to sheathunderwear.com and use promo code Malice. You get 20%
Yeah,
off.
exactly.
It's great underwear for when it's cold.
We do have a garden already
hot,
started. Well, the
and I
herbal
wear
garden
it
just
every
started, and
single
we'll
day 'cause it's the best
be
underwear
doing
I've ever owned.
some more
First time
foods
to
in the
run to the
backyard.
studio, I was like, what is this? And now I swear by it. And
Goats
in fact,
aren't going to
I model
happen
for
this
them.
year.
It's got added
as
comfort,
much as
added
the wife
performance,
wants
added
them.
mobility. And there's something a little subversive about talking to someone
Well, too busy
while the whole time your
to attend
underwear
to
is
them.
stuffing your junk. I'm not going to lie. I do enjoy that aspect of it. And folks, they're not just
Chickens.
an underwear line. Sheath
I
now
want to
has
do chickens this
bamboo
year too.
hoodies and shirts, which are really, really soft. So go to sheathunderwear.com, use promo code Malice. You get 20% off your order. Support the underwear that supports you and that supports the show. Let's get back to the show. Let's talk about the recent successes you guys have already had. You've certainly hit the ground running with O'Keefe Media Group, which I think is to your credit. Can you talk about some of the recent stories that you broke and the reactions that you've gotten from the corporate press and your erstwhile colleagues?
Well, I mean, the FEC story is probably the biggest. These are Act Blue donations that were given to us by a citizen group, voter integrity group. We knocked on the doors of people that the FEC data shows were given thousands of contributions to Act Blue, which doesn't make any sense. Why would one person contribute thousands of times?
You have to run out.
And all these people,
try to take care of this.
admitted
item.
Democrats, were like, well, we didn't do
I
that.
know.
And what we want to do is decentralize journalism. So we are trying to now enable and immobilize thousands of people to go do this. So we've been shipping cameras, these $700 cameras, the fancy ones, hidden cameras, to people. If they go on our website and fill out this form, we'll ship you the camera. So the FEC, people started knocking on doors as well. So I view it sort of like, remember Bob Ross, the painter, and he's painting, and he's especially, he's an artist, but he's sort of like coaching you while he's painting. He's like, this is a happy accident. This is a tree. So what I'm doing now, I feel like my new life's mission is to teach people how to do what I do, and to try to create an ecosystem where a lot of other citizen journalists can actually go do it, but they're going to need coaching and mentoring and equipment. But I believe it has to be a decentralized, after what we've seen with Tucker Carlson, after what we've seen with me, after what we've seen with the boards of these news organizations at ABC and Fox and everywhere. It's got to be completely decentralized. So we did the FEC story, which was decentralized, and a lot of citizens knocked on doors. It's led to some congressional action. I don't have the answers to all these questions, why they're apparently money laundering, but we're knocking on doors. We did a story on Dylan Mulvaney, the Bud Light girl.
Oh, that was when you. Oh, let's talk about this because let's break this down because I personally am kind of irritated by how much conservative media is fixated on Dylan Mulvaney. Right. Because it's the corporate press just kind of anoints someone as basically like the Pope of LGBT people, and everyone just goes along with it. So Dylan Mulvaney is basically cosplaying as a girl. I don't even consider him really a trans person because he's like a 14-year-old basically dressing up like Audrey Hepburn. He's in this hotel. You're chasing him down with your mic. You got him in the elevator. Pure panic. Can you break down that? Like, how'd you know Dylan Mulvaney was going to be there? Were you surprised that there was no one around him? Did you chase? Like, what was the whole?
Well, first of all, the context here is, we did a story on a jail in Washington State where transgenders, I guess these are biological born men pretending to be women, were in the jail with women, right?
Right.
People say, why does anyone care about inmates? Well, there's an 8th Amendment to the Constitution, cruel and unusual punishment. So men raping women in jail, it's just, that to me seems like an area where we need reform. Perhaps we need transgender jails. I don't know. I don't know the solution. Anyway.
Here's the thing. Well, let me just say one thing. I'm a very small man. If I'm going to jail, I'm going to say I'm transgender just for my own safety. I don't care.
Right.
Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't it's such an incentive? It's like, why wouldn't you rather be housed with females than with males? The worst of the worst.
This is a new problem. Wasn't a problem 10 years ago. So these men are in jail, and these men have these men who are now women had a rapists. They were convicted of child rape and child porn, and they're in the prison with women in this Washington State women's prison. So these sources reached out to me. I air the recordings, and I decide to go ask Dylan Mulvaney because he, they, she, I don't know. Every time I use these words, the comments go crazy. So Dylan has been sort of anointed as this leader of this movement with everything. So I go question her. So you may ask, how did you find this person? This is a great question. We have an insane team at OMG. The things that we do in the field are like not Mission Impossible, but like along those lines, like magical. We're staking him out for hours. And another paparazzi is also doing so. We get into this wild car chase through.
Okay. We're 47 minutes in to a 1 hour and 5 minute video. I cannot stay online here. I got to go have someone to look at my tire while I have a couple hours. Thank you, everybody. Ooh, what a weird place to pause that. What a weird place to pause that. Okay. We'll more than likely try and get one more stream in today. 1 second. Impact Employment, how can I help you? Hung up. All right. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. I will play the song out, though. I'll probably do a mobile stream. That way you guys can get some nice potato action going. But I got to get this tire fixed. I'm so tired of putting air in this fucking tire. Poker. Oh, that sounds good. Because I get to sleep in tomorrow before I have to go to Cleveland. So that sounds cool. We'll do some poker tonight. Sweet. Probably won't do a mobile then because I've already done 2, and that will be my last notification. But yeah, for sure. We'll do some poker tonight. All right, let me play the song.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better. See, I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet next to me. I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Coming out with a statement. You really changed, man. All your music and arrangement. You don't know shit. Shut your mouth. You can save it. I'm the same dude that got his come up from the basement. 100 songs, 100 weeks didn't change it. Experiments, development, intelligence, and patience. I'll do it all again because I never feel complacent. Let's keep the good vibes. Positivity's contagious. I'm never looking back because I made a life that's passionate. A college graduate suppressing all his talents. Yeah, he found a way to go and change, become an advocate. We're taking control of your life. Go out and battle, and you think you have a dream, then act on it. Get after it, get out your head and fucking capture it. You got one life to master it. Don't give up on your future. We all start losers. We're all late bloomers. Gotta start through the sewer. What you say? Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make.